Chapter 133. Wei Shuofeng was a spell master at the peak of the ethereal understanding realm. Moreover, he had used his ancestral treasure to summon the black-yellow earth qi and condense it into a dragon to suppress Jiang Tian. How could he have died? However, none of them dared to ask. A battle of magical powers was originally a matter of instant change. It was a matter of life and death, a mystery within a mystery. Since Jiang Tian had walked down alive, then the one to die would definitely be Wei Shuofeng. Little did they know that the black-yellow earthen jar was an ancient treasure used by the earthly sovereign, Fuxi. It contained immense power and could only be used by those who had reached the Dao body realm. Wei Shuofeng, who was at the peak of the ethereal understanding realm, had forced himself to use it and suffered a backlash. His organs and meridians had long since been shattered. By the time Jiang Tian had broken through the black-yellow earth qi dragon and arrived before him, he had easily killed him with a single slap. Old immortal Wei is dead. Hearing this, Su Wenjie, Tao Fengshe, and the others could no longer hold on. They all knelt on the ground and wailed. Although Wei Shuofeng was not their disciple, he had given them a lot of pointers and they owed him a great deal. Upon hearing this, their minds went blank. They were like melons that had been separated from their seedlings. They had no one to rely on. Master Kong, please spare our lives. Suddenly, Patriarch Bai was the first to react. He bent his knees and knelt on the ground. He lowered his arrogant head and begged pitifully, "We only came to the banquet of bliss to ask for a magical artifact. We have no ill intentions toward Master Kong." Although he tried his best to hold on, his trembling legs revealed the fear in his heart. "We submit and serve Master Kong from now on. If you have any orders, we will obey without question." Fear seemed to be contagious, and all the patriarchs and experts scrambled to kneel on the ground, kowtowing and worshipping Jiang Tian. They were deeply afraid that they would be killed on the spot by Jiang Tian if they were to kneel a second later. Jiang Tian was too strong. Even Wei Shuofeng, who had taken out his ancestral treasure, was killed. If he wanted to take the lives of everyone present, it would be as easy as cutting grass. Moreover, killing people with spells was different from martial arts. Spells were ever-changing, unpredictable, and could kill people from 100 miles away. If Jiang Tian wanted to kill them, they wouldn't even know how they died. Who wouldn't be afraid? Actually, everyone felt the same way about Wei Shuofeng. While they respected him, they also felt fear and apprehension towards him. Although I, Kong Teichu, have killed countless people in my life, I still understand right and wrong. I will never kill the innocent. Jiang Tian casually picked up a glass of red wine and sipped it. He looked down at the crowd and said lightly, "I killed my way into the Wei family to avenge the heroes of Jiangbei. I know that none of you participated in the Wei family's operation this time. It has nothing to do with you. Thank you, Master Kong, for not killing me." Everyone felt as if they'd been pardoned, and they kowtowed one after another to express their gratitude. However, they sighed sorrowfully in their hearts. From now on, there would be no more Wei family in Jiangnan. By then, Cao Shixiang had already arrived. He nodded slightly and didn't say anything else. After saying this, Jiang Tian's gaze swept across the southern faction's Feng Shui and Xian Shu practitioners. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They had all received favors from the Wei family and were considered Wei Shuofeng's disciples. Was it not enough for Kong Teichu to wipe out the Wei family? Was he going to deal with the Wei family's henchmen? There were even a few brave ones who stealthily formed hand seals. Some wanted to fight to the death, some wanted to escape. "Everyone, don't be nervous." Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian only smiled warmly and said, "At this time, I came to Sheep City to collect some formation materials. If you have any, you can trade with me. You can ask for money or cultivation techniques." More than half of Jiangnan's spellmasters had gathered in the hall. There were also practitioners from other provinces who had come to participate in the banquet of bliss. If Jiang Tian had said this before, the masters from all over the country would have scoffed. However, upon hearing those words, everyone felt as if they had hit the jackpot. Their faces lit up with joy, and they even felt like cheering. Jiang Tian was a dual cultivator who had killed Hong Tianzhao and Mo Haoxiong. Today he had killed Wei Shuofeng. His spells were definitely above the ethereal enlightenment state. They could imagine that Jiang Tian's spells, martial arts, and alchemy skills were unimaginably powerful. Could it be that Grandmaster Jiang is also proficient in the study of array formations? Suddenly, Su Wenjie reacted and asked in shock. Arrays were the most difficult and profound of all. Arrays use the elements of mountains, rivers, water, and wood to connect with the power of heaven and earth to achieve various effects such as killing, amplification, healing, summoning, sealing, and so on. It was said that in ancient times, Jiang Zia had once comprehended the formation of 9 palaces and 8 trigrams and the formation of 10 generations of wisdom kings. In the Battle of Mai, he had defeated 170,000 soldiers of King Zhou. However, arrays had been lost in Huaxia for many years. Only a few mountain guarding arrays still existed. Feng Shui Xian technique was actually a variant or branch of the formation. Feng Shui masters used compasses, Feng Shui Dharma artifacts, and the flow of water to set up all kinds of Dharma arrays to seek luck, avoid misfortune, adjust Feng Shui, gather spiritual qi, or attack enemies. Unfortunately, these were only small tricks. The real arrays were similar to the Yin and Yang dust array of the Mount Shu sword sect and the cosmic star array at the back of the Kunlun mountain. These arrays? They could easily summon the power of the stars, space, and earth. Even a grandmaster would be crushed and an immortal state warrior would have to retreat. Who wouldn't want to master such a vast power? How could they not be excited when they heard that Jiang Tian knew about arrays? What's so special about arrays? If you have materials that satisfy me, I can teach you a thing or two. What do you think? Jiang Tian smacked his lips and said with a smile. The knowledge of array formations was a top-notch secret art for Huaxia warlocks. It was something they could only look at but could not attain. However, in the cultivation world, it was only the most basic knowledge. From the spirit gathering array and reverse killing array to the mountain protection array and Dao field array to the starry sky array, it could be said that Jiang Tian knew at least 8,000 array formations. It would be a piece of cake for him to teach them a little. No matter how powerful their arrays were, they were not as powerful as the mountain guarding array of the Shenong school. Jiang Tian could break it with a few kicks. Besides, Jiang Tian needed some free technicians to set up the spirit gathering array. It would be a good idea to bring them along. Master Kang's breadth of mind is admirable. Grandmaster, this is the temperament of a true grandmaster. The crowd was utterly astonished and was filled with gratitude. Even immortal Hongya, who had the highest cultivation, looked at Jiang Tian with reverence. Jiang Tian nodded and suddenly looked at Tang Xiaozi in the crowd. Master Tang, I heard that my wife owes you tens of millions of dollars. Please give me your account number and I will transfer the money to you. He won't let me go after all. Looking at Jiang Tian's half-smile, Tang Xiaozi felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over him. He felt cold from head to toe and a chill ran down his spine. He was really scared at this moment. He had seen Jiang Tian's strength with his own eyes. Even old immortal Wei's Xianhuang Earth Qi Dragon was smashed by his fist. How terrifying was Jiang Tian? He was like a demon god. The current Jiang Tian, not to mention him, even his father, the Tang clan patriarch, and the entire Tang clan could be easily annihilated. However, Tang Xiaozi had recklessly coveted his wife. Wouldn't he be played to death by him? Thinking of this, Tang Xiaozi's legs almost turned into noodles. Unable to support himself any longer, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed like he was pounding garlic. He begged in a trembling voice, Grandmaster Jiang, those medicines are all miraculous elixirs. How can you refund them? So it's a miraculous pill? Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and said jokingly, you only spent tens of millions. Is that enough? Elixirs are worth more than that? You bastards have lived too long. How dare you provoke Master Kong? You don't know what's good for you. Grandmaster Jiang's magic power is as high as the heavens. Killing you is as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. If it weren't for Grandmaster Jiang's kindness, you would have all died at the banquet of bliss. That's right. These foppish young masters are useless. Do they think they can do whatever they want just because they have some money? They even dare to offend Master Kong. They must be severely punished. Compensate them and break their legs as a warning to others. Unknowingly, the wind changed. Those southern sect's spellmasters, after learning that Jiang Tian was going to teach them spells, stood on Jiang Tian's side. They pointed at Bai Choufei and the other young masters and berated them. When Tang family's Tang Zhinya heard this, he was so shocked that his expression changed drastically. It seemed that his son offending Master Kong was equivalent to offending a group of experts. Who could withstand this kind of power? He also knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, "Master Kong, please forgive my son for having eyes but failing to see your face. I am willing to exchange half of Tang family's property for my son's life. He can be spared from death, but he can't be forgiven. Ghost kick, break his dog legs and teach him a lesson." Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he said with a faint smile, "Yes, master." Ghost kick didn't hesitate. He stepped forward and kicked Tang Xiao's thigh twice. Crack, crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking rang out. Tang Xiaoza hugged his leg and howled miserably. He was in so much pain that he cried and rolled on the ground. On the side, Chao Shixiang and the military's upper echelons didn't change their expressions. It was as if everything was natural. This was the prestige of a martial arts grandmaster. The secular world didn't dare to offend them. Even the military didn't dare to do anything. Otherwise, the world would be in chaos. Hearing those miserable screams, Tai Ming Huang, Bai Choufei and the other young masters felt their hair stand on end. They felt a chill down their spines and a sense of sorrow welled up in their hearts. "Master Kong, please forgive us for having eyes but failing to see and offending you. We know our mistake. Master Kong, please be magnanimous and forgive us this time. We won't dare to do it again." "That's right, Grandmaster Jiang. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. Master Kong, from now on, we are willing to follow Master Kong. If you have any orders, we will not hesitate." There was no need for Jiang Tian to speak. Chapter 134. Forget it. Kong Teichu can take all of your assets. I will put them under your name for now. Jiang Tian calmly waved his hand in disdain. The assets of these people were worth at least 300 billion. If they gave Jiang Tian half of it, it would still be worth hundreds of billions. However, Jiang Tian didn't need to sign any agreement with them. He could take it away if he wanted to. This was the power of a self-cultivator. He could take whatever he wanted. "Okay, that's all for now. Hongya, if you have any array materials, send them to my hotel." With that, Jiang Tian nodded at Chao Shixiang and Tang Guizhu and left with Ghost Kick. The next day, the Wei family's great change swept across the entire southern Huaxia like a hurricane. For a time, this earth-shattering news spread throughout Yangcheng and Lingnan's upper-class society. The Wei family was the most powerful family in Jiangnan province. They had been standing for hundreds of years. Today, they were defeated in one blow. Wei Shuofeng was killed by a mysterious overlord on Mount Tidehark. The Tang family's young master's legs were broken. The Tang family had to give up half of their assets to save his life. The elites of Jiangbei and the 5 major families of Lingnan have joined forces to support Master Kong as the leader of Lingnan. The Wei family's financial group has been taken over by a mysterious creditor. All the members of the Wei family have been kicked out. Apparently, the government had blocked the news. The news was not reported by any official media. It could only be spread through the grapevine. Who was this mysterious overlord? How old was he? What did he look like? He had defeated old immortal Wei in one night and took control of the Wei family. Wouldn't he become a rising star on the list of the world's richest people? Many people were speculating and discussing. However, the people of the upper-class society were terrified. Everyone felt that they were in danger. It was said that the military had intervened, but they couldn't stop Kong Teichu. The Wei family had been destroyed overnight. Master Kong was not someone to be trifled with. They couldn't afford to offend him. Quite a few people contacted each other and prepared generous gifts. They wanted to kowtow to Master Kong so that they wouldn't be crushed by Master Kong. Not only that, but Hua Xia's martial arts world was also in an uproar. Many martial artists were spreading the news. A dual cultivator of magic and martial arts. He single-handedly swept through the Wei clan and killed Mo Haoxiong. Looks like a dragon has appeared in Lingnan. Strong as a dragon, strong as a dragon. You really don't know Kong Teichu when you're practicing martial arts. Even if you know everything, it's all in vain. A martial arts expert who worshipped the strong side, his thoughts wandering away. Jiangbei Master Kang's rise in power over the past 6 months has not been peaceful. He killed Xing Shanhu on a cruise ship, killed the Grandmaster Hong Tianzhao on Mount Garuda, and defeated the Shinnong school in the 100 Medicine Valley. This time, it's Mo Haoxiong and Wei Shuofeng. This Kong Teichu is as powerful as a dragon, stirring up a storm. How long does this Kong Teichu plan to kill for? Is no one going to stop him? There were also many martial arts experts who were trembling in fear. It could be said that they were all in danger. Where did this Jiangbei Master Kong come from? Which clan is he from? Whose disciple is he? Could it be Yi Zhantian's? No way. Yi Zhantian's disciples are all in long formation to maintain the order of martial arts. How could he be so ruthless and domineering? There were also many martial artists who were investigating Jiang Tian's identity, trying to find out some information. Kong Teichu is too strong and too scary. It seems that the only thing that can suppress this Kong Teichu is the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. It's impossible for us to take revenge on our own. Yeah, maybe we can only ask the Martial Arts Alliance Conference or those veteran martial arts grandmasters to come out and uphold justice. The Hong clan in Gan Province, the Golden Blade Wang clan in Luoyang, the Tang sect in Sichuan, the Mo clan in Lingnan, and many other martial arts clans and sects that had been crushed by Jiang Tian were all terrified. They shook their heads and sighed, cutting off their own hopes of revenge and pinning their hopes on super experts or martial arts organizations. 2 days later, in the afternoon, a Bugatti Veyron limousine drove slowly to the entrance of the hotel like a fish in water. The doorman went to open the door and saw an ordinary-looking young man walk out from the back seat. The doorman was shocked. He thought to himself, is he from one of the Redwall families in Yanjin? Mr. Jiang, shall I send you upstairs? There were 2 other people standing behind the young man. One of them had a long beard that reached his chest, and the other was wearing round-rimmed brass glasses. They were Hong Yi the Enlightened and Su Wenjie. Although Jiang Tian had chased the Wei clan's disciples out of the door, the Wei clan still needed people to support them. Thus, Jiang Tian did not kill the old officials like Hong Yi and Su Wenjie. These people didn't have any grudges against Jiang Tian. To put it bluntly, they were just taking his money to get rid of him. Hong Yi and Su Wenjie were more than happy to work for him. If they could work for Master Kong, they could get some pointers from Jiang Tian. Wouldn't their spells improve by leaps and bounds? No need. You can leave now. Jiang Tian shook his head. Yes. Then we will take our leave first. We will send the materials for the formation over in the afternoon. Adept Redleaf and Su Wenjie cupped their fists and bowed deeply, then left with respectful looks on their faces. Brother-in-law, where did you go? When Jiang Tian came back to the room, Zhao Qianru pinched Jiang Tian's arm and said angrily, I didn't see you last night. It was raining and thundering 2 nights ago. We went to your room but you weren't there. You scared us to death. Don't tell me you went to climb the window of some rich girl in Yangcheng? Zhao Xueqing joked. Well, I really didn't. Jiang Tian raised his hands in surrender and said apologetically, I was wrong. Please forgive me. From today onwards, I will focus on accompanying you. If Taoist Hong Yi and the others were here, their eyeballs would definitely fall out of their sockets. The Grand Master Kong, a dual cultivator of magic and martial arts, a Grandmaster of the Divine List, who even defeated Wei Shuofeng in a single blow, would actually raise his hands and beg for mercy to 2 ordinary girls? How could they know that Jiang Tian had spent tens of thousands of years in the starry sky? His heart had long since been tempered to be as hard as steel and as cold as ice. Only in front of his beloved wife and family would he let down his guard and reveal some of his youthful nature. In fact, Jiang Tian had kept his conflict with Wei Shuofeng a secret from the two girls. Last night, when he killed his way into the Wei clan, Jiang Tian naturally didn't tell the Zhao Xueqing sisters to prevent them from worrying. Now, it seemed that they were even more worried, making him feel a little guilty. "You said you would bring us to the Feast of Bliss, but you left without saying goodbye. This is the last day and we almost missed it," Zhao Qianru said angrily. Without Jiang Tian present, Shen Mange was also very cautious and told them to stay in the hotel. "It's easy to go to the Feast of Bliss. Let's go now." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and immediately called the Tang family's patriarch, Tang Zhinya. He ordered, "I'm going to the Feast of Bliss to have some fun. Clear the place and don't let anyone else in. Don't follow me either. My wife likes peace and quiet." "What? Clear the place? Brother-in-law, are you kidding?" Zhao Qianru couldn't believe it. The Feast of Bliss was attended by all the major families in Yangcheng. Who could shake such a terrifying force? "Yeah, Jiang Tian, don't listen to Qianru. You caused a ruckus that day and offended so many people. It's too dangerous to go now," Zhao Xueqing hurriedly persuaded. Although she knew that Jiang Tian was a powerful man in Jiangbei, this was Yangcheng. Even if those tycoons couldn't defeat Jiang Tian, they could still ask the political forces behind them to do it. "It's okay. My husband now is not the same as before. The vast Lingnan is my world." Sensing his wife's concern, Jiang Tian caressed her soft cheeks and said softly. Even though they knew that Jiang Tian was very powerful, Zhao Xueqing and her sister didn't believe that Jiang Tian could take over the Jiangnan area in a short time. Zhao Xueqing smiled but didn't say anything. Zhao Qianru suddenly had an idea. She clapped her hands and said, "Then let Shen Mange come with us. She can handle those people in Jiangnan area." "Okay." Jiang Tian was helpless. It seemed that his rise was too fast. Even his family couldn't accept it. Yangcheng First People's Hospital. Outside the ward, Zhou Xianya and Lu Fan, a couple who looked like a talented couple, were anxiously waiting. Lu Fan carried 2 large bags of expensive nutrition and tonics in his hands. Early in the morning, he heard that the awesome man he had worshipped for many years was beaten and hospitalized. He hurriedly called Zhou Xianya. Regardless of his concussion, he ran over to visit him. By the way, he waved his flag and shouted to improve the relationship between them. His heart was uneasy and he was at a loss. Just who dared to break Tang Xiao's legs? This was a bit too ruthless. Zhou Xianya, who was wearing light makeup, looked calm on the surface. She was more or less excited inside. She dreamed of being a smart woman like Cinderella who could hook up with a prince when she was a teenager. She dreamed of living in a gorgeous castle and being in the company of nobles and celebrities. Today, she finally had the opportunity to get close to the circle she had been longing for. Her vanity was greatly satisfied. Top tycoons, rich socialites, mansions, luxury cars, and luxurious clothes and jewelry. Once upon a time, these things were so far away from Zhou Xianya, but now they seemed to be within reach. The doctors and nurses routinely checked the patient. After that, Lu Fan and Zhou Xianya entered the ward. In the VIP single ward, Tang Xiaoza was wrapped up tightly like a mummy, only showing his eyes, mouth, and nose. Zhou Xianya was a woman after all. Seeing this situation, her heart trembled. She thought that his legs were probably crippled. Lu Fan put down the 2 bags of nutrition and tonics. He first greeted Tang Xiaoza's mother and girlfriend, and then squatted by the bed and pretended to be nervous to ask about the injury. He showed grief and indignation, as if he couldn't wait to sacrifice himself for his brother. Tang Xiaoza waved his hand impatiently and glanced at Lu Fan, who used to try to get close to him. His eyes were desperate and he said weakly, "Okay, don't talk nonsense. This kind of person is not someone you and I can afford to offend. You don't know that even number 2 of the military commission came forward for us, but he couldn't stop him. It's good that I'm still alive." Lu Fan was speechless and nodded with a smile. But in his heart, he was horrified. Just who was it that could make Tang Xiaoza, a noble, so helpless that he couldn't even think about revenge? At this moment, Zhou Xianya recalled the sensitive words number 2 of the military commission, and her heart was in turmoil. Yang Cheng's young master's status was truly extraordinary. With just a little bit of effort, he was able to reach this level. If this matter were to blow up, these youths, who were only a few years older than him, would be able to stir up even more waves. But at the same time, she was even more curious about the person who injured Tang Xiaozi. Zhou Xinya felt that she was a lucky woman. She was forced out of Linzhou City by Jiang Tian and left for Yangqing City. But now, she was doing well, which determined her future. Chapter 135. What true love? What pure feelings? In today's society, there was no power or money. Everything else was nonsense. Just as Zhou Xinya was lost in her thoughts, the door to the ward was pushed open and a group of people rushed in. The room immediately became crowded. The man in the lead had a scholarly temperament, but his expression was gloomy. Lu Fan grabbed Zhou Xinya's hand and carefully retreated to a corner of the room. He was a peripheral figure in this circle and knew where to stand, but he didn't forget to show off in front of women. He whispered to Zhou Xinya, "That's young Master Bai, one of the 4 young masters of Yangqing City. You've seen him at the Banquet of Bliss, right?" Zhou Xinya nodded thoughtfully. She was no stranger to the flashy title of the 4 young masters of Yangqing City. But she had only just come into contact with this circle and didn't know how deep the waters of Yangqing City were. She was deeply shocked, just like Granny Lu in Dream of the Red Chamber. "Xiaozi, we still have to apologize to Master Kong. The older generation doesn't feel at ease." Bai Chao's first words after entering the room shocked Lu Fan and Zhou Xinya, causing their faces to turn pale. Wei Jinghu's family also received news of the Wei clan's great changes and immediately called for an emergency meeting. The Wei clan had lost to an extraordinary person known as Grandmaster Jiang, and this expert had now become the leader of Lingnan. Speaking of which, I'm a distant relative of Wei Shuofeng. Although we've already traveled 5 times and don't move around much, we still have to be careful. If he tries to eliminate us by the roots, we'll be implicated. Wei Jinghu's face was grave and fearful, afraid that he would be implicated. At this moment he was a bit suspicious. Jiang Tian had advised him to stay away from Wei Shuofeng, but 2 days later, news of the Wei clan's downfall spread. Could it be that this matter had something to do with him? But very quickly he suppressed this thought. It was just a madman spouting nonsense. What foresight could he have? What's there to be afraid of? Will the Tang, Bai, and Tai clans of Yangqing City just sit by and do nothing? Wei Zheqiong was unconvinced. "Zheqiong, watch your words." Wei Tianduan was an official, so he was more well-informed. "I heard that this Master Kong is very powerful. He's a martial grandmaster and an expert in spells. Even Wei Shuofeng was killed by him. Right now, these few great clans have already submitted." "What? Even the Tai clan, Bai clan, Tang clan, and other clans have submitted to him?" Below the hall, there were cries of surprise. After all, the people of the Wei family were still too young to know much about the secrets of the world of martial arts and spells. They had no idea what martial arts and spells meant. However, they knew all too well how powerful the Bai, Tai, and Tang families were. They controlled both politics and business, and had powerful backgrounds. It could be said that they could cover the sky with one hand in Lingnan. But now, these big families had been suppressed. What kind of person was this Master Kong? Furthermore, I've received news that everyone in the Wei clan has been chased out of the house. Master Kong had also stripped them of their assets. At that time, the higher-ups of the military were present, but they didn't stop it. Instead, they facilitated it. Wei Tianduan's expression turned even graver as he dropped another bombshell. Everyone was flabbergasted. Overnight, a great clan that had stood for 100 years. Not only did the military not stop it, they even facilitated it. It seemed that this Master Kong was not only powerful, but also had a powerful background. He had connections in the court. In that case, this Master Kong can be said to be a ruthless and ruthless person. The more Wei Jinghu heard, the more scared he became. Cold sweat poured down like rain as he said in a trembling voice, It seems that we still have to pay a visit to Master Kong and tell him about our relationship with the Wei clan. We really haven't interacted with each other all these years. There was complete silence in the hall. No one dared to interrupt. This kind of person was too far away from them. It was basically a conversation between the most outstanding Wei Tianduan and Wei Jinghu. Father, that's true, but Wei Tianduan sighed helplessly. That Master Kong is like a dragon in the heavens. How difficult is it to meet him? I heard that even people of the Tang clan head's level have a hard time meeting him. No matter how difficult it is, you have to think of a way. This concerns the life and death of our clan. Wei Jinghu shook his head and sighed. This matter was too big a blow for him. It was as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. Okay, I'll think of a way and see if the Tang clan head can give us a way out. Wei Tianduan immediately dialed Tang Jinye's number and bowed as he begged and pleaded. Moments later, Wei Tianduan hung up and sighed. I have a way. What did he say? Everyone was excited. The Tang clan head said that with our clan status, we don't have the right to participate. However, the Tide Hark golf course belongs to the Tang clan. He can have everyone disguise themselves as caddies and attendants to sneak in. Wei Tianduan's expression was extremely complicated. Hearing this, everyone's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Sigh, the Wei clan didn't even have the right to meet Master Kong. They could only disguise themselves as caddies and attendants. To think that they had been so proud of themselves and considered themselves part of the upper class. Now that they thought about it, it was simply a joke. Now do you understand how far we are from a true top clan? Wei Jinghu felt bitter in his heart. He sighed and said earnestly, all of you must work hard. Otherwise, you will suffer endless humiliation like today. Dad, what do you mean? Are we going or not? Wei Tianduan asked with a frown. We're going. How can we not go? Wei Jinghu stood up, feeling as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. He said in a clear voice, as long as I can see Grandmaster Jiang and protect our Wei clan's foundation, I'm willing to exchange my life for it. Wei Jinghu and the others hurriedly drove to the Tide Hark golf course. On the way, Wei Zheqiong and the others saw that the originally bustling banquet of bliss was now empty. According to the rumors in the circle of young masters, the mysterious Master Kong was going to play here and had cleared the place. Sigh, this Master Kong is so capable. Wei Jiehui said sourly. He's much more impressive than Tang Shaozi and the other young masters. He's the most ferocious person in Lingnan in 100 years. Wei Zheqiong smiled. Brother, you can do it. Our family will also have a city hall leader in the future. City hall leader? Wei Yang laughed disdainfully. According to what I heard, even city hall officials don't have the qualifications to meet Master Kong. They're not even fit to carry his shoes. Wei Jiehui, who was rather proud, could only shake his head and smile bitterly. He knew that although his cousin's words were unpleasant, they were true to a certain extent. How could he compare to that godlike Master Kong? The family arrived at the golf course and met up with a staff member of the Tang clan. Everyone changed into the uniforms of caddies, security guards, and janitors. Then, they arrived at the golf course and blended in with the staff, quietly waiting for Master Kang's arrival. The Tide Listening golf course was the property of the Tang clan. It had a par of 108 on 27 holes. It was a pretty good venue. Golf had been labeled as a sport for nobles for some time now. Only a handful of people in Yangqing could come here to play. Even the Wei clan members had never been here before. They immediately looked around as if they had entered a grand garden. However, they didn't dare to speak loudly and only dared to whisper. Oh my, so many big shots. Suddenly, Wei Yang exclaimed. He couldn't believe his eyes as he watched a group of luxuriously dressed middle-aged and old men walk past the golf course. Tang Jinye of the Tang clan, Bai Tianlei of the Bai clan, Tai Yingjie of the Tai clan. Almost all the billionaires in Yangqing are here. The Wei clan members spoke as if they were family treasures. Even Wei Jiehui was moved. His eyes shone with admiration. Tang Jinye and the rest wore heavy expressions. They didn't speak to each other as they silently entered a tea room next to the golf course. Hongye, is it appropriate for us not to accompany Mr. Jiang? Isn't it too disrespectful? Tang Zhinya asked solemnly as they sat down at the round table in the tea room. Mr. Jiang only wants to play with his beloved wife. He doesn't want us to disturb him. Those were his exact words. Hongya sipped his tea and said calmly, I'm worried that something might happen. What if we anger Master Kong? Bai Tianlei of the Bai clan said with a frown. Don't worry about that. I've already instructed the management staff. They will definitely serve you well. Tang Zhinya promised. What about security? Send a few bodyguards to follow them from afar. A tycoon suggested. Idiots. Su Wenjie scolded. Master Kang's dermic powers are not Taoist physique but ethereal enlightenment. His martial arts have reached the transcendent state. Why would he need someone to protect him? He really felt that this group of rich people was extremely stupid. He knocked on the table and scolded. People who cultivate the Dharma are peaceful and deluded. They like to be quiet and don't like to move. If you disturb Grandmaster Zhang's leisure time, you can just wait to die. Master Su is right. The tycoons and officials were so shocked that their faces turned pale. They quickly nodded in agreement. If you ask me, you shouldn't have come here to apologize. That's unnecessary. Hongya played with his teacup and said proudly, Master Kong is a celestial being. Why would he care about the offense of you ants? That's true. Tang Zhinya said humbly. But no one will blame us for being polite. After all, Xiaozi and the others have offended Master Kong. If we, as their parents, don't express our attitude, we won't be able to rest easy. Then you can just say that you met Master Kong during a meeting here. Adept Redleaf rolled his eyes and said resentfully, Grandmaster Jiang said that he wanted to clear the area. If you annoy him, I won't be able to bear the consequences. Hongya, how could we let you take the risk for nothing? Here is 10 million. It's a token of our appreciation. Please accept it. Tang Zhinya quickly handed over a bank card. On the other side, Jiang Tian had already brought Zhao Xueqing and her sister, Shen Mange, and Ghost Kick to the Banquet of Bliss. They sat on the yacht and surfed the waves. They also played water trapeze, beach racing, and sunbathed for a while. Everyone was in a good mood. Jiangtan, what's going on? Why is there no one here? Zhao Xueqing was shocked to find that the area had been cleared. The private beach that stretched for a few kilometers was empty. It had become an empty space. There was only a vice president sent by the Tang family to accompany and serve them. His words were appropriate and polite. You still don't believe me? I'm such a failure as a husband. Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. In fact, he was very proud of himself. The vice president of the Tang family's real estate company smiled humbly and said, Master Kong is telling the truth. Jiangnan's number 1 spellcaster was defeated by Master Kong 2 days ago. At that time, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Now, Jiangnan is revered by Master Kong. The seagull yacht that you were on just now is now under Master Kang's name. Brother-in-law, you're awesome. I worship you to death. Zhao Qianru suddenly became very excited. She jumped up and wrapped her snow-white legs around Jiang Tian's waist. Her jade-like arms wrapped around Jiang Tian's neck and hung on Jiang Tian's body. Chapter 136. That's nothing. Hey, you're an adult now. Can't you be a little more mature? Jiang Tian was speechless, but he didn't take his sister-in-law's adoration to heart. Back then, he had swept through the cosmos and killed countless immortal emperors and demon emperors. He had once controlled billions of light-years of stellar territory. So what if he defeated a mere Wei Shuofeng and became the ruler of Lingnan? If he broke through to the late stage of qi refinement, he would be able to kill even Dao body-perfected persons. He would be invincible even in Huaxia. Brother-in-law, give me that yacht of yours. Zhao Qianru said with a smile. Without waiting for Jiang Tian to speak, the vice president hurriedly said, That's easy. Miss Zhao, just pick one. I'll give it to you. That's great. I also want that sports car over there. Zhao Qianru dashed over to the booth to choose a yacht and sports car. However, Zhao Xueqing's heart was trembling. Her expression was incomparably solemn, and her plump chest heaved violently. She was speechless for a long time. Although she had never seen how terrifying Wei Shuofeng was, she had long heard of the power of the Tang, Tai, and Bai families. And Wei Shuofeng was regarded as their leader, so there was no need to talk about his abilities. She didn't dare to say anything else, but at least he was much more powerful than Mao Mountain's Yangguocheng. She then recalled the rumor that 2 nights ago, there had been a thunderous explosion on Tide Hark Mountain and huge waves in the shallow waters of Cape Beach. It was as if a hurricane had erupted. She could guess that it was probably Jiang Tian and Wei Shuofeng who were fighting. Only the heavens knew how much effort Jiang Tian had put in to defeat Wei Shuofeng and how much risk he had taken. A battle of arts was even more dangerous than a martial artist. If Jiang Tian had the slightest mishap, he would have been a corpse. Jiang Tian, why did you fight with Wei Shuofeng? Suddenly, Zhao Xueqing asked with a sobbing tone, is it because of a power struggle, or because Tang Xiaozi asked him to make a move against you? Or is it like what you said, that you want to shake the world for me? Seeing that Zhao Xueqing was so agitated, Jiang Tian was stunned. He touched his nose and asked, a little bit of both. Why are you so angry? Jiang Tian, do you know? Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said angrily, I don't need your wealth or power. If Tang Xiaozi insists on the payment, then return it to him. We don't lack money now. I don't want you to become famous for me. I don't want any glory when I'm with you. I just want us to be safe and loving each other. But you're always fighting and killing. Have you ever cared about my feelings? With that, she waved her hand and walked away. Knowing that Zhao Xueqing was concerned about him, Jiang Tian was very touched, but he also felt bitter. He didn't know how to explain it. After 10,000 years of cultivation, he knew how terrifying the human heart was and how cruel the competition was. Cultivators had an endless desire to become strong, but cultivation resources were limited. It could be said that if one wanted to become strong, they couldn't avoid fighting and killing. However, Zhao Xueqing was only a mortal woman. Her experience was relatively simple. How could she understand all this in such a short time? He quickly followed her and hugged Zhao Xueqing's soft waist from behind. He said in a low voice, Qingya, it's my fault. If I have any plans in the future, I'll definitely discuss them with you. You're now the famous Master Kong. What's there to discuss with a mortal like me? You can go and be respected and worshipped by tens of thousands of people. What's the point of my worry? Zhao Xueqing sobbed. She shook off Jiang Tian and walked towards the beach with a cold face. Tina, I apologize. Please forgive me this once. Jiang Tian sighed helplessly. His face was full of worry. The vice president beside him was dumbfounded. This Master Kong was so capable. How could he not be angry when his wife threw a tantrum like that? He was even trying to please her. He was simply a slave to his wife. Sister, isn't brother-in-law fine now? He's fine. Don't be angry. Zhao Qianru also noticed the argument between the two. She quickly followed and hugged her arm to persuade her. Go away. If you didn't insist on coming to the blissful banquet, why would there be so much trouble? Zhao Xueqing shook her arm and shook her off. Her face was already full of tears. She said angrily, You're happy now. Others gave you a yacht and a sports car. But have you thought about how much danger your brother-in-law took? Did she eat gunpowder? Zhao Qianru also retreated. She didn't know how to persuade her sister. Seeing that Jiang Tian's face was not very good, she quickly said, Brother-in-law, don't be angry. Sister is just too worried about you, and I understand. Jiang Tian's mood was very complicated. He was also speechless for a long time. Zhao Xueqing hugged her knees with both hands and pressed her head on her knees. She sat on the beach and looked sadly at the undulating waves of the sponge. No one knew what she was thinking. Jiang Tian stood not far behind her and silently accompanied her. He stood and waited with a cigarette in his mouth. He didn't let Zhao Qianru and Shen Mange disturb her. After a long time, Zhao Xueqing gradually calmed down. She turned around and waved at Jiang Tian. She shouted, Come here. There was still no smile on her face. Jiang Tian hurriedly threw away the cigarette and ran over. He bowed and said with a smile, "My dear wife, do you have any instructions? I treated you like that just now. Aren't you angry?" Zhao Xueqing touched Jiang Tian's cheek and looked at Jiang Tian softly. "Not angry, not angry. It was my fault. We said that I must let you know when I fight. You must be thirsty." Jiang Tian was more or less relieved. It was good that she was willing to communicate. He quickly handed her a glass of freshly squeezed juice with a fawning face. The vice president next to him was embarrassed again. "I originally thought that I had no status in the family. I didn't expect Master Kong to be worse than me. It seems that all men in the world are the same." A moment later, he slapped his thigh and muttered, "How is this no status? This is loving my wife. It seems that I still have a lot of room for improvement in the aspect of spoiling my wife." Zhao Xueqing rested her head on Jiang Tian's shoulder and looked at the undulating sea. A trace of sadness appeared on her face. "It's my fault. I couldn't keep up with your footsteps." "What?" Jiang Tian was puzzled. "It's like an ant watching two fierce lions fight. It will feel like the earth is shaking and the sky is about to collapse. I'm the ant, and you and Wei Shuofeng are the fierce lions and dragons." Zhao Xueqing's eyes were sad and disappointed. She said faintly, "I don't have the ability. I can't even play the white ape bone zither you gave me." "Qingya, don't say that." Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Zhao Xueqing to have such a big change after thinking for a while. "Jiang Ting, if it's possible, let me become as strong as you. I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with you." Zhao Xueqing turned her head and looked seriously at Jiang Tian with her clear eyes. She said softly, "If you're like a big tree with your copper branches and iron trunk, then I want to be a cotton plant with my own red flowers, like a heroic torch." She took Jiang Tian's big hand and drew circles on Jiang Tian's palm with her slender fingers. She said gently but firmly, "We'll share the cold waves, wind, thunder, and lightning together. We'll also share the rainbows, sunshine, and rain together. We'll never be separated, and we'll be together in life and death. I love your majestic body, and I also love the position you insist on and the land you stand on." Zhao Xueqing said all the emotions in her heart. She then looked at Jiang Tian with deep affection and asked, "Do you understand my feelings?" "I understand. Qingya, don't worry. I'll stand with you and watch this picturesque world." Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with determination when he heard this. Actually, Jiang Tian was a little hesitant about whether to bring Xueqing along on the path of cultivation. The life of a mortal was too short. Even if they lived a long life, they could only live for 100 years. He loved Zhao Xueqing too much and owed her too much. Even if he wanted to stay with her forever, it wouldn't be enough. But if he wanted to bring this girl along on the path of cultivation, or even step into the star field, it would be unavoidable. The road ahead would be filled with endless dangers. Jiang Tian didn't want her to be in danger. However, at this moment, after hearing Qing'er's tender confession, Jiang Tian no longer had any doubts in his heart. Since she was willing, then, let's cultivate together. "Thank you, hubby. You've opened the door to a new world for me. I didn't keep up with your footsteps and I even blamed you." Zhao Xueqing was filled with tenderness and apology. She hugged Jiang Tian's body tightly and rested her forehead on his neck. Zhao Xueqing calmed down and started chatting and laughing with Jiang Tian again. Zhao Qianru ran over and said with a smile, "Sister, let's go play golf. I've always wanted to learn." All right. I'll let you, this wild girl, play the so-called aristocratic sport and pretend to be a socialite." Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes curved into a beautiful crescent moon shape as she gladly agreed. Soon, the vice president brought Jiang Tian and the others to the golf course. "Vice President Fan, don't follow us anymore. We're just playing," Zhao Xueqing said gently. She had a tranquil state of mind and didn't like being fawned upon by others. "And all right, Mr. Jiang, Madam Jiang, I wish you all a good time." The vice president bowed respectfully and then left respectfully. It was August in Yangcheng and the sun was scorching hot. The scorching sun was like arrows mercilessly shooting down. The weather was unbearably hot. Wei Zheqiong and the rest were sweating under the scorching sun. It was as if they were in a steamer. Wei Jinghu was old and weak. His face was incomparably pale and his mouth was dry. He was about to get a heat stroke. But they gritted their teeth and persevered, patiently waiting for the legendary Master Kong to arrive. Just when everyone was feeling a little weak, they suddenly saw Jiang Tian and the rest walking over while chatting and laughing. "Jiang Tian, what are you doing here?" Wei Zheqiong was shocked. She quickly walked over and scolded in a low voice, "Is this a place you can come to? Why can't we come here?" Before Jiang Tian and his wife could speak, Zhao Qianru sneered, "But you guys, this place is clearly cleared. How did you manage to sneak in?" Chapter 137. After seeing the ugly faces of her grandfather's family in Yangqing City, Zhao Qianru was immediately disgusted with them and completely stood on her brother-in-law's side. "You should be here to apologize to young Master Bai and the others, right? Weren't you quite arrogant back then? Now you know fear?" Wei Yang curled his lips in disdain as he shook his head and sneered. "It's fine if you want to apologize to young Master Bai and young Master Tang." Wei Jiehue walked over with a livid face. He lowered his voice and scolded sternly, "But you have to give it some time. Today, the Bai family, Tang family, and other big families in Yangqing City are welcoming an important guest. If you disturb them at this time, your legs will be broken. I advise you to leave quickly." "Hehe, do they have the guts? Can't scare them to death? Don't worry, they should be here to kowtow to me." Jiang Tian sipped his freshly squeezed fruit juice calmly and couldn't be bothered with him. "Jiang Tian, are you crazy? How can you speak like that? Shut up." When Wei Zheqiong heard this, she was shocked, angry, and anxious. She wished she could sew Jiang Tian's mouth shut and scolded him angrily. "If you're here to apologize, then apologize. Why are you still so stubborn? Do you know that you've already angered everyone and yet you're still spouting nonsense? If these big shots hear you, you won't be able to leave alive. Madman! You're really crazy. You're already here to kneel and admit your mistakes, yet you're still boasting shamelessly and arrogantly." Wei Jiehue was so angry that his entire body trembled. He scolded, "Hurry up and leave. Don't anger those big shots and lead the trouble to our Wei family." "What right do you have to ask me to leave?" Zhao Qianru said angrily, "What a joke. Didn't you already announce that you've severed ties with us? Why are you wearing the clothes of a caddy?" Jiang Tian suddenly widened his eyes and looked at them with interest. He asked curiously, "Isn't your Wei family a rich and powerful family? Why do you care? We'll wear whatever we want. We're here to experience life." The faces of the Wei family members stiffened and they were extremely embarrassed. They thought to themselves that they wanted to meet Master Kong, but they didn't have the qualifications to come in. How could they tell you the secret? Experiencing life? Very good, then bring me a club. Jiang Tian found it very interesting and said with a mischievous smile, "Jiang Tian, don't be so arrogant. If you don't go out now, don't blame this old man for turning hostile." At the side, Wei Jinghu, who'd been watching coldly with a livid expression, couldn't sit still any longer, and he stepped forward and berated, "Grandpa, what's the point of talking nonsense with him? I'll just beat him up and throw him out." Wei Yang rolled up his sleeves, pulled out a golf club, and shouted arrogantly. Tang Zhenye and the heroes of Yangqing greet Master Kong. Right at this moment, Tang Zhenye suddenly led the group of Yangqing's patriarchs and tycoons over and bowed in unison like a pack of loyal dogs meeting their master. They spoke in the most humble tone they had ever used in their lives. At this moment, the entire world came to a standstill. It was as if the bright sunlight shining on everyone, the wind passing through them, and the clouds in the sky had all frozen in an instant. Master Kong. The members of the Wei family were all shocked to see these big shots, who could do anything they wanted in Lingnan, kneeling in front of Jiang Tian. They couldn't believe it. Wasn't he a useless disciple of the Jiang family? Wasn't he just a useless piece of trash? How did he become Master Kong, who even the tycoons of Yangqing City had to bow to? What the hell is going on? What? He's Master Kong? Wei Zheqiong's pretty face changed color as if a basin of ice water had been poured over her head. Her entire body turned cold as she stood rooted to the spot. Clang! The golf club in Wei Yang's hand fell to the ground, and his face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He's Master Kong? Wei Jiahui couldn't believe it. His legs went weak, and his eyes were filled with horror as if his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. He's Master Kong? Wei Jinghu only felt his head buzzing, and his high blood pressure was about to act up. He couldn't even stand properly. Who told you to come over? Didn't you say not to disturb me? Looking down at the tycoons of Yangqing City, Jiang Tian frowned, and a trace of disgust flashed in the depths of his eyes. Then he turned around and glared at Taoist Master Hongye. Taoist Master Hongye was so scared that he quivered. He hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully cupped his fists. Master Kong, they insisted on coming. This junior couldn't stop them even if I wanted to. At the banquet, my good-for-nothing son offended Master Kong. He, Bai Qiufei and Iron Monarch are now kneeling outside the door. They want to apologize to Master Kong again. Seeing Jiang Tian's displeased expression, Tang Jinye and the others were so scared that their faces turned deathly pale. Cold sweat poured down their bodies, and their legs trembled slightly. His waist, which was already deeply bent once more as he squeezed out a flattering smile and said with a flattering smile. When the Wei family members heard this, they were simply dumbfounded and horrified. Bai Qiufei, Iron Monarch, and Tang Xiaozhe were the top young masters of Yangqing City, but now, they were actually kneeling and apologizing to him? It seemed that he really was that invincible Master Kong who had swept through Yangqing City and even defeated the Wei family. Oh, then let's continue playing. Let them kneel. Jiang Tian's expression didn't change at all. He pulled Zhao Xueqing and walked toward the golf course. At this time, Wei Jinghu's heart was filled with complex emotions. Deep regret surged like a tide, and even his intestines turned green. He never thought that this cheap grandson-in-law was actually the famous Master Kong. If not for the fact that he didn't recognize the real person's face and ruin their relationship, wouldn't the Wei family be flying with him as their backer? No, I can't miss this opportunity. Wei Jinghu cheered himself on in his heart, silently shouting. After all, he had been immersed in the system for many years, and his old face had long been as thick as a city wall. How could he let go of this opportunity to curry favor with Master Kong just because of a bit of insignificant self-respect? He only hesitated for a moment, and then quickly caught up. He nodded and bowed with a flattering smile. Honorable grandson-in-law, how about you stay at our home tonight? It's more convenient to be a family member. Seeing this, the Wei family members all looked at Jiang Tian with worry and expectation. They were anxious and fearful that Jiang Tian would refuse, or even become hostile. Grandfather, weren't you the one who left in a huff that day, cutting off all relations with us? Jiang Tian had yet to speak when Zhao Qianru retorted sarcastically and said with a cold smile, What? Now that you know my brother-in-law is Master Kong, you want to curry favor with him? Isn't it a bit late? That day, when we visited you with bags of gifts, did the Wei family give us any face? Zhao Xueqing was also very unhappy in her heart, and her little face tensed up as she sneered. That day, I was confused for a moment. Master Kong, no matter what, we're all family. You must be magnanimous, magnanimous? Wei Jinghu was extremely embarrassed, and he smiled embarrassedly. Forget it, Elder Wei has good intentions, Jiang Tian said indifferently. I'm busy with worldly affairs, and I'm afraid I don't have time this time. Next time, everyone sought advantages and avoided disadvantages. He'd been in the Outer Realm for 10,000 years, and he'd long since gotten used to seeing many cultivators bully the weak and fear the strong, and even golden immortals were no exception. Not to mention, what about these shallow mortals? Moreover, he had to give Wei Fong face, right? Hearing this, Wei Jinghu seemed as if he'd heard heavenly music, and he was so happy that he almost flew up. The large stone pressing down on his heart suddenly fell down, and he nodded and bowed. Master Kong, it's good that you're willing to come, it's good that you're willing to come. You can set the time, and our family's door is always open for you. We'll definitely welcome you. Outside the Tideheart Golf Course, it was close to noon. The scorching hot sun and the 40+ degrees temperature made people sweat profusely in just a few minutes. Lu Fan, who was unwilling to kneel every year when he went back to his hometown to pay respects to his ancestors, knelt under the scorching sun for 2 whole hours, not daring to complain in the slightest, not daring to show the slightest bit of resentment. Moreover, he didn't have the qualifications to complain at all because Tang Xiaozi, Bai Qiufei, Tai Ming Huang, and many other peak young masters who were 10 times more powerful than him were also kneeling on the ground. If news of this scene were to spread, it would definitely stun a group of people and they wouldn't dare believe it. The peak young masters of Yangcheng were originally high and mighty like heavenly royalty, but at this moment, they were all forced to kneel on the ground, prostrating themselves in worship. In particular, Tang Xiaozi's legs were still in plaster, and his arms were supporting 2 special crutches as he knelt on the ground. After kneeling for a long time, his wounds were torn open a second time, and he grimaced in pain, his pale face twisting in pain. The dozen or so Yangcheng's young masters who didn't directly clash with Jiang Tian watched silently, and they were filled with grief and grief. They had previously wanted to help Tang Xiaozi up, but Tang Xiaozi sternly refused, as if letting him up would be harming him. Zhou Xinya was also in the crowd. Only by acting to the end would there be gains. She also understood this principle, and so she insisted on following the crowd. Only, Zhou Xinya was puzzled as to how powerful the person who beat Bai Qiufei until his legs were fractured and still had to kneel and beg for forgiveness was. Tang Xiaozi, Lu Fan, and the others knelt for another half an hour, swaying and almost fainting. Only then did a fleet of luxury cars slowly drive out of the golf course, carrying an insufferably arrogant aura. In particular, the silver-gray Bentley's body was bright and dazzling, oppressively rich. When it passed by the kneeling young masters, the brown anti-see-through window in the back of the Bentley was lowered halfway, and a jade-white palm reached out and gently waved, releasing a strong sense of disdain, as if telling them to get up. The pitiful young masters of Yangcheng City felt as if they had been pardoned. They gasped and thanked the driver, and then collapsed on the side of the road. Among the trembling crowd, Zhou Xinya looked into the car window out of curiosity. Her view was not good, so she was surprised and didn't see the person in the car clearly, but her heart still twitched violently. Could it be him? She saw half a face and an ordinary white t-shirt, and couldn't help but be horrified. Her beautiful eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Lu Fan, Zhou Xinya. After resting for a while, Tang Xiaozi finally stood up with the help of Tai Ming Huang and Bai Qiufei. He gritted his teeth and glared at the two coldly. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, full of hatred and resentment, as if it could kill. At this moment, he hated these two people to death. If they hadn't gotten the information wrong and fanned the flames, how could he have foolishly confronted Jiang Tian? How could he have ended up with half of his family's property, broken legs, and humiliated so miserably? After all, he had forgotten about Zhao Xueqing for a long time. Young Master Tang. Lu Fan and Zhou Xinya shuddered as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their heads. Their eyes were full of panic and fear. Get out of Lingnan, and don't let me see you again. Tang Xiaozi's cheek muscles twitched violently, and his eyes were red. He was like a wolf that was about to devour its prey. Xiaozi, are you going to let them go so easily? Bai Qiufei was a ruthless person, and he was bound to vent the anger in his heart. He waved his hand and said with a resentful face, "Men, cripple these two blind bastards." Immediately, 7 or 8 bodyguards in black swarmed up, kicked the two to the ground, and smashed them with their truncheons. The muffled sounds of truncheons hitting people's bodies, miserable screams, cries, and pitiful begging echoed on Cape Beach and Tide Listening Mountain for a long time. Chapter 138. After accompanying Zhao Xueqing around Yang City for 2 to 3 days, Jiang Tian managed to gather all the materials needed for the array formation. Soon, he returned to Linzhou City and started to set up the spirit-gathering array in King's No. 1 villa. However, this time, Jiang Tian brought along Hong Yi, Su Wenjie, and a few other southern faction feng shui practitioners to help him. These spell masters were more than happy to help. They even felt that it was a great honor. With their help, the Qi gathering array was completed after a week of hard work and all the array materials were used up. When the box was opened, Gingjin iron essence, azure wood cauldron, frost crystal, white ape's demonic core, and dark yellow clay pottery were displayed in front of everyone. The invisible elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth gathered together, exuding surging energy waves. These 5 treasures can be used as the eye of the Qi gathering array. Activate the dermic powers. Jiang Tian looked at the 5 elements that he had gathered with great difficulty and heaved a long sigh. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Jiang Tian inserted the 5 treasures into the eye of the array one by one and inserted the auxiliary materials that contained the runes of the array. Immediately, wung, 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 the ground trembled slightly as the spirit gathering formation was activated. Pillars of light emerged from the 5 eye of the array and shot into the sky. Gold, green, white, red, and yellow. They were 100 meters long and looked like giant lanterns. At the same time, streaks of Qi gathered from all directions like tentacles and enveloped the entire mansion. Shocking! This is too shocking. This is truly an earth-shattering array. I didn't expect Master Kang's array formation skills to be so profound and powerful. Hong Yi, Su Wenjie, Tao Fengshi, and the other spell masters of the southern faction were stunned and could not believe their eyes. Then, more and more white Qi gathered and enveloped the entire mansion like clouds, making the mansion look like an immortal palace. The Qi accumulated so much that it formed raindrops and dripped down. The Qi is like mist and condensed into rain. Oh my God! This is comparable to the Taoist temple of the ancient immortals. Hong Yi, Su Wenjie, and the others took a deep breath and felt refreshed. Their pores were relaxed and their cells were jumping with joy. I never thought that we would be able to see such a great formation in our lifetime. It's like a miracle. At this moment, all the spell masters of the southern sect were so excited that tears were streaming down their faces and their bodies were trembling non-stop. Thank you for your hard work these past few days. Each of you will collect a bottle of spirit liquid as compensation for your hard work. Jiang Tian pointed at a row of jade bottles prepared in advance and said with a smile, "Thank you, Master Kang." Hong Ye, Su Wenjie, and the others could no longer hold back the reverence in their hearts. One by one, they knelt on the ground and worshipped Jiang Tian. This spirit Qi water could be said to be priceless. It could not be bought even with millions or tens of millions. It could help them improve their cultivation once. After they left with the spiritual water, Yi Zichen and the others took the spiritual water and left. Zhao Xueqing walked out from the inner room. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she smiled and said, "Jiangtan, is your formation completed?" She also felt that this formation was magical. Being in it, she felt refreshed and energized. "It's done." Jiang Tian nodded slightly and a trace of relief appeared on his face. He smiled and said, "Xueqing, tonight, I can teach you a set of cultivation techniques." But Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes sparkled. She was excited and cheered. She did not want to become very strong. It was enough for her to be able to fight side by side with Jiang Tian. "Qingya, before we start cultivating, I have to observe your body constitution carefully." Jiang Tian pondered for a moment and said seriously, "Only after I confirm your body constitution can I choose the most suitable cultivation technique for you." There were many common cultivation techniques that were suitable for everyone. However, these cultivation techniques could not unleash a person's special potential. Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years and was well-versed in all cultivation techniques. He had more than billions of cultivation techniques in his hands. However, since he was going to bring his beloved wife into the world of cultivation, he had to choose the most suitable cultivation technique for her. He wanted her to reach the top and become the supreme beauty, the empress of the celestial world. Then how do I observe? Take a look. Zhao Xueqing smiled sweetly, her beautiful eyes rippling like waves, looking innocent and unaffected. Qingya, you have to take off your clothes. I still have to feel your bones. Jiang Tian coughed and looked a little embarrassed. Ah. Hearing this, Zhao Xueqing's beautiful face blushed, her clear and beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and a trace of shyness flashed past her eyes. She pinched Jiang Tian and said bashfully, "Hubby, are you trying to take advantage of me? Qingya, I have divine sense. I can see your body constitution. However, the body constitution not only covers your muscles and blood vessels, but also your bones. Only by sensing it thoroughly can I make the best assessment. The choice of cultivation technique is very important. It will affect your cultivation for the rest of your life. You can't afford to make any mistakes." Jiang Tian said seriously. "Oh, I see. Then let's go to the bedroom?" Seeing that Jiang Tian was serious, Zhao Xueqing believed him. However, she felt a little disappointed in her heart. The bedroom was elegantly furnished. There was a bouquet of delicate roses in the vase, which was filled with a faint fragrance. The curtains were drawn and the bright yellow light shone down. It was very warm, but also seemed to be a little ambiguous. Zhao Xueqing bit her lower lip and hesitated for a moment. In the end, she still went into the bathroom. The sound of water splashing could be heard. Jiang Tian sat on the sofa with his back facing the bathroom. He was a little uneasy in his heart, like a cat scratching an itch. The bathroom door creaked open. Jiang Tian felt a soft and gentle touch on his back. A pair of snow-white arms wrapped around him from behind and gently hugged him. Although there was a layer of clothes between them, Jiang Tian could still clearly feel the soft and plump body. Moreover, he could also smell the fragrance of an orchid. Jiang Tian was a little angry in his heart. This was not because his Dao heart was not firm. In fact, he had been in the cultivation world for tens of thousands of years. His heart could be said to be as firm as steel and as stable as a rock. However, his feelings for Zhao Xueqing were too deep. Hearing the soft sobbing, Jiang Tian was shocked. He held her little hand and turned around. He said gently, "Xueqing, what's wrong?" "I'm scared." Zhao Xueqing was wrapped in a bath towel, revealing her jade-like shoulders. After the steam evaporated, her originally delicate and fair face became even more crystal clear. She was incomparably beautiful. However, her eyes were filled with sadness and worry. There were sparkling tears in her eyes. "Why?" Jiang Tian asked. Zhao Xueqing said in a trembling voice, "According to what you said, everyone's bone structure is different. Not everyone is suitable for cultivation. If my bone structure is not good, then what should I do?" "Qingya, you don't have to worry about this." Jiang Tian smiled. He held her beautiful face and kissed it. He said with a firm face, "Even if your bone structure is not good, I have thousands of ways to improve it. As long as your Dao heart is firm, hubby, you're actually so amazing." Zhao Xueqing was overjoyed at first, then her eyes became hazy. There was a layer of intoxicating charm on her face, and there was a hint of shyness between her brows. However, she gently clenched her teeth and whispered in Jiang Tian's ear, Then I'll show you now." Then, Zhao Xueqing gently untied the bath towel. Suddenly, the bath towel fell to the ground. A beautiful and delicate body was presented in full view in front of Jiang Tian. The beauty in front of him had a face full of shyness. She was at a loss. Her jade-like arms were gently covering the important parts of her body. Her figure was curvaceous and exquisite, her skin was as white as jade, and her waist was slender and soft. Especially her pair of plump peaks that undulated even more. Under her slight trembling, dazzling waves rippled out, making her even more beautiful and soul-stirring, causing Jiang Tian to scratch his heart and liver. "Qingya, you're so beautiful." Jiang Tian's heart was about to jump out of his throat. He could not control himself at all. He hugged her tightly in his arms. He had been cultivating for tens of thousands of years, and there were countless seductive demonic women and holy fairies who tried to show off their beauty in front of him. However, Jiang Tian had always been thinking about his beloved wife, and had never had his heart moved by them. It could be said that for tens of thousands of years, he had always bitterly missed Xueqing. He hoped to embrace and love her. His longing was like a disaster. He did not stop for a moment. Today, his beautiful wife was presented in front of him. How could Jiang Tian control himself? Aya, hubby. Zhao Xueqing let out a soft cry as if she was talking in her sleep, but in the next moment, she became as docile as a pool of water, completely obedient. She did not have the slightest idea of her own and allowed Jiang Tian to caress her delicate body that was as white as a scallion. Jiang Tian's heart was burning. He placed his beloved wife on the bed covered with rose petals. Starting from his beloved wife's lips, then down her neck, and then to her chest. He kissed her all the way down. Qing'er's body started to tremble. However, in the end, she could not help but gently twist. Her face seemed to be smeared with a layer of rouge. Even the skin on her neck was faintly red. Her pair of eyes were half closed and her gaze was blurred. It was as if she had already lost consciousness. However, her pair of small hands were still tightly holding onto Jiang Tian's arm. No, at the last moment, Jiang Tian seemed to have shivered and suddenly stopped. Qing'er was so shy that she did not dare to look at him. She only hugged Jiang Tian's neck with both hands and buried her head in his neck. She said in a soft voice, "Hubby, take me. I am your wife. I originally belonged to you. Don't wait for your name to shake the world. Don't wait for wealth and glory. No. Qing'er, it's not because of this." Jiang Tian tried his best to calm himself down. He let go of his wife's body and said with a smile, "There are many body constitutions that require a virgin body to cultivate. I'm afraid that I'll hold you back. Let's wait and see." "Oh, so it's like this?" Zhao Xueqing pouted and rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian. Her face was filled with disappointment. It was as if she was a flower bud that had just received the blessing of rain and dew. Before it could fully bloom, it had stopped. How strange. Jiang Tian immediately used his divine sense to examine her body. But at this moment he felt a splitting headache and his body trembled. Seeing Jiang Tian's pale face, Zhao Xueqing frowned and cried out in alarm. She reached out to support Jiang Tian. "What's wrong?" Jiang Tian was sweating as he muttered to himself, "It can't be that kind of physique, right?" Just now, when he had peeked into Zhao Xueqing's root bone, he had felt an enormous pull, like his divine sense was about to be swallowed up. Moreover, she was clearly made of flesh and blood, but her body was as vast as the sea of stars, as complex and deep as a black hole that seemed capable of swallowing everything. Coupled with the feeling of being drained of strength when he was combing through Zhao Xueqing's meridians, he couldn't help but think of a terrifying physique that was 1 in 10,000 in the cultivation world, the immortal body of the stainless phoenix. Chapter 139. In this regard, Jiang Tian had an image of a sponge physique. This kind of physique was known for its extreme void and powerful absorption ability. It could swallow everything, bear all things, and smelt it into cultivation. 10,000 years ago in the Nine Clouds continent, there was a Fuyao empress who had this physique. She once led the Shaohua Empire and swept across millions of light years of starfields, shocking an era. This physique also had a fatal flaw. That was, powerful cultivation could not form an attack. It was like a sponge, as long as there was no external force, it could not squeeze out the water contained. "Qing'er, don't worry, I'll look again." Thinking of this, Jiang Tian was also a little flustered, but he forced a smile and comforted his nervous wife. Once again, he condensed his consciousness into threads and tentacles and probed into Qing'er's body, carefully examining it. This time, the exploration took a full quarter of an hour. Jiang Tian even felt that his consciousness was about to be swallowed by her body. This was clearly a body of flesh and blood, but the inside was so vast and boundless. A meridian was like a great river surging endlessly. A piece of blood qi was like the clouds in the sky covering the sky and the sun. Even a small cell was as complex and vast as a planet. All-encompassing, myriad of phenomena. Jiang Tian's surging consciousness was pulled extremely thin, like a cicada's wing, like a silk thread. It was about to collapse, but it was still unable to see the full picture of this physique. There was a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness. Jiang Tian quickly withdrew his consciousness, only to find that the back of his clothes was soaked with cold sweat. Jiang Tian's face was pale, his whole body was weak, and his eyes were dull as he sat there. "Husband, are you okay?" Zhao Xueqing's eyes flashed with a trace of worry. She took a wet towel and gently wiped Jiang Tian's sweat. "I'm fine." Jiang Tian's tone was a bit powerless and sorrowful. His eyes were empty, unable to focus. At this time, Jiang Tian was unwilling to admit it, but he had to admit that Qingya actually had the pure phoenix immortal body, which was hard to come by in 10,000 years. "Hubby, can I cultivate?" Wrapping herself in a towel, Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian worriedly. Her body was trembling as she felt uneasy. "Your physique is very strange." Jiang Tian swallowed his saliva with difficulty and said in a hoarse voice. Although the truth was cruel, Jiang Tian still had to say it. After listening to Jiang Tian's narration, Zhao Xueqing felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She was completely stunned. After a long time, Qing'er smiled sadly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said in a trembling voice, "You mean, I can't become the same person as you?" "In theories." Jiang Tian lowered his head, his expression solemn. Zhao Xueqing's pretty face was deathly pale, and she couldn't even stand steadily. "Qing, don't be sad. I will definitely think of a way." Jiang Tian hurriedly supported her. Zhao Xueqing shook her head, trying to control her tears, but big drops still fell down. She said in a trembling voice, "I don't want to be a waste. I don't want to be a burden to you. I want to fight side by side with you." "Yes, Empress Fu Yao." Jiang Tian sighed for a while. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He frowned and said in a low voice, "Empress Fu Yao also has this kind of physique, but why did she become the celestial emperor of a generation and sweep through an era?" "Yes, you just said that she is very strong too." Zhao Xueqing also suddenly became excited. She saw a glimmer of hope. When Jiang Tian ascended to the continent of the 9 clouds, Empress Fu Yao was already a figure from 10,000 years ago. At that time, she had already fallen, but there were still many records and legends about her. Jiang Tian stood up and walked back and forth. He grabbed his hair and sank into the memories of the past. "I remember that little bastard Ren Ming Ming in the continent of the 9 clouds told me that she used a kind of spiritual grass called the Empress Flower to refine pills and evolve her bones." Zhao Xueqing stared blankly at Jiang Tian. After returning, Jiang Tian had always been calm and collected, but now, Jiang Tian was like a manic lion. She was very moved, and a large piece of tender feeling appeared in her heart. He was anxious for her. "It is the Empress Flower." Suddenly, Jiang Tian grabbed Xueqing's shoulder and shook her excitedly. He said loudly, "To make an inappropriate analogy, this sponge body is like a patient with heart failure who has a pacemaker installed on his heart. All the blood in his body will surge, and he will be able to use his cultivation. And so, as long as we find the Empress Flower, I can cultivate?" Zhao Xueqing also smiled through her tears. Her beautiful eyes were full of hope. But in the next moment, her smile disappeared and she frowned. She said tenderly, "According to what you said, the spiritual qi on earth is declining, and it is in the age of chaos. This kind of spiritual grass must be very difficult to find." "Then don't worry about it." Jiang Tian waved his hand and said confidently, "Even if it is a mountain of swords and a sea of fire, even if it is the 9 heavens, the 5 seas, even if it is the ancient road of the stars, crossing the sea of stars, I will find the Empress Flower for you and help you cultivate." "Jiang Tian, thank you. You are so good to me." Qing'er was touched. She hugged Jiang Tian tightly, and sparkling tears rolled down her cheeks again. Between lovers, when their feelings were strong, they would always say, "Even if you want the stars in the sky, I'll pluck them down for you." But everyone knew that this was just an exaggeration, but Jiang Tian wanted to put it into practice. "Qingya, even if you can't use your cultivation now, you can still cultivate. It is like a dam storing water. You can only store it now, but you can't use it. But now that you have accumulated more cultivation, once you find the Empress Flower and open the floodgates, it will be like a flowing river, a dragon galloping horse, and a thunderous force. Jiang Tian held her delicate hand, and his eyes shone with excitement as he spoke earnestly. "I'll cultivate with you now." Zhao Xueqing nodded her head with a look of anticipation. After pondering for a while, Jiang Tian finally made a decision. The skill he chose for Zhao Xueqing was called the Immortality of the Void Formula. That skill had been created by the strongest cultivator of the continent of the Nine Clouds, Renming the Celestial Venerable. Renming the Celestial Venerable was famous for his fighting prowess. He had become a celestial emperor and was famous in the continent of the Nine Clouds. When Jiang Tian arrived in the continent of the Nine Clouds, he was already a master of the Golden Core stage. Renming was just a boy running around in the mountains. He wanted to join the Star Ocean sect, the first sect in the continent of the Nine Clouds, but he had no foundation. He failed 10 times and was laughed at. Jiang Tian saw that Renming's heart was firm and persevering. He thought of himself and was very moved. He helped Renming enter another small sect, the Great Tao sect. After hundreds of years of cultivation in the continent of the Nine Clouds, Jiang Tian traveled across the void again. After a few years, Jiang Tian returned to the continent of the Nine Clouds again. Renming had become a master of the Great Tao sect and had become the patriarch of the Great Tao sect. He had also recovered the Star Ocean sect, which surprised Jiang Tian. After asking, he learned that the key point was that Renming had created the art of immortality out of void. He was only in the qi refining stage, but he had lived to 600 years old. Then, he found a way to improve his root bone and break through to the foundation building stage. At that time, Renming proudly said, "As long as I live as long as a tortoise, the probability of being hit by a meteorite will increase a lot. Why worry about not being able to improve my foundation? Why worry about not being able to break through?" Jiang Tian laughed and called him an old tortoise, which made the old man so angry that his face turned white. However, jokes were jokes. Jiang Tian deeply felt that this skill was magical, so he asked him what was going on. Without Jiang Tian's guidance, Renming definitely wouldn't have been able to set foot on the road of cultivation. He would have turned into a pile of yellow soil long ago. This kid was deeply grateful to Jiang Tian, so Renming naturally told him everything without holding back. The immortality of the void formula was the combination of Renming's hundreds of years of wisdom and the Great Tao sect's thousands of years of inheritance. It was incomparably mysterious and profound. It could be said to be an immortal emperor-level skill. The biggest feature of this skill was that the body was like the void. It had a strong ability to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, which could be turned into vigorous pure qi. It was very suitable for the little girl's body. Secondly, the pure qi could nourish the body, strengthen the blood, and extend the life. If it reached the peak, it could at least live for 1,000 years. Jiang Tian thought very far and was prepared to not be able to find the D-daughter flower on Earth. Even if he couldn't find it on Earth, 100 or 1,000 years later, he would be able to set foot on the ancient road of the stars and find the D-daughter flower. At that time, Zhao Xueqing could still use the D-daughter flower to improve her body and display her cultivation. After Jiang Tian finished teaching, Zhao Xueqing immediately followed Jiang Tian's instructions. She sat down cross-legged and began to circulate the immortality of the void formula. Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared. The whole villa was filled with wind and thunder. Thick clouds and mist rushed toward the villa like galloping horses and swimming dragons. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The spiritual qi became even more condensed. Like white gelatinous tentacles, it drilled into the room through the window and into Zhao Xueqing's body through the cracks of the door. It merged into her qi sea and turned into surging pure qi. Zhao Xueqing's back was straight as a pencil. Her eyes were slightly closed, and her beautiful face was filled with awe-inspiring might. Her body emitted a holy light, as if a goddess had descended to the mortal world. Kacha! With a crack, the spiritual qi was too overwhelming. It pushed open the window and shattered the glass. Damn, this is too terrifying. Jiang Tian was speechless. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. This scene had never appeared even when he was cultivating the primal chaos creation formula. It seemed that Renming's cultivation method was also unique. Moreover, Qing'er's physique was too domineering. In the courtyard, the wind whistled. The trees swayed, and even the rockery was swaying. Kacha-kacha. Loud sounds rang out incessantly. Streaks of spiritual qi turned into mist and surged crazily. They rubbed against each other like a dark cloud vortex. Lightning as thick as a thumb or an arm was actually produced. They flickered in the spiritual qi like silver snakes. I believe there's thunder. It's raining. Hurry up and put away the clothes. This scene scared Ghost Leg, who was collecting spiritual liquid in the courtyard, so much so that he jumped 3 feet high. Holding the jade bottle, he burrowed into the room like a mouse. Jiang Tian was shocked when he saw this, and he was shocked. If Qing'er continues cultivating like this for a month, then the spirit energy in Lion Peak and Embroidery Lake will probably be completely sucked dry, and it's even to the extent that my energy convergence formation will collapse from the absorption. Soon, the sky turned bright. Zhao Xueqing finally completed one cycle and opened her eyes. So comfortable. At this moment, under the cover of the morning sun, the little girl's skin was whiter than snow. It was as clear as jade, and her eyes were lively. Her entire body was shining and exuding a holy light. Her white pajamas were spotless. She even had a bit of celestial aura, just like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. She turned to look at Jiang Tian and asked with a smile, "Hubby, it's so strange. I didn't sleep last night, but I feel so refreshed and energetic. It's so comfortable." This is the most basic convenience of cultivation. From now on, you're cured of all diseases and your body is strong and healthy. Jiang Tian said with a smile. "It feels so good. Hubby, I'll reward you with a breakfast of love." Zhao Xueqing smiled sweetly and immediately ran off to make breakfast. After breakfast, Zhao Xueqing said with a smile, "Hubby, accompany me to work. I'm used to having you accompany me." "I'm not going." Jiang Tian shook his head resolutely. "But, do you know? When you were cultivating yesterday, all the spiritual qi rushed into your body. It didn't enter my body at all. I couldn't cultivate even if I wanted to." Jiang Tian's face was bitter. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Qing'er's body was simply too domineering. Chapter 140. Just like that, for the remaining month, Jiang Tian did not leave the house. He did not step out of the door and cultivated hard in number 1 King's Villa. Qing'er worked during the day and accompanied Jiang Tian to cultivate at night. Her comprehension in cultivation was also very amazing. She could discuss cultivation techniques with Jiang Tian, and some of her points could even inspire Jiang Tian. Moreover, her progress could be said to be very fast. In just a month, she broke through to the qi refinement stage. However, without the Di-Nu flower, she could not use it. From the first 3 stages of qi refinement stage to the middle stage of qi refinement stage was a very important stage. The key was condensing qi into spirit. This was the result of the double strength of divine sense and true essence. The surging true essence fused with a wisp of divine sense and had its own spirituality. It was like a cultivator's avatar that could assist Jiang Tian in attacking. At this stage, Jiang Tian chose to cultivate the main cultivation technique of his previous life, the Cloud Sea Azure Dragon technique, as a supplement. He wanted to condense 2 Azure Dragons. One Azure Dragon was the spirit of the Spirit Gathering Array, guarding number 1 King's Villa and protecting his beloved wife. In fact, the Spirit Gathering Array was only a very basic formation. It did not have the ability to attack or defend. Jiang Tian planned to strengthen one of the true essence Azure Dragons into a defensive and lethal Azure Dragon formation. The other Azure Dragon would be his personal item to assist him in defense and attack. The development of Zhao Pharmaceutical Company could only be described as rapid. The muscle-nourishing ointment swept the national market like a hot knife through butter. Its sales rose steadily. Coupled with the orders from the military, it could be said to be like the sun in the sky. In just 3 months, the sales of the muscle-nourishing ointment broke 5 billion, and the net profit was 1 billion. Not to mention the scale of the assets, at least in terms of profit. In 2007, Zhao Pharmaceutical Company was ranked in the top 30 pharmaceutical companies in Huaxia. On this day, Jiang Tian was meditating in number 1 King's Villa. Zhao Qianru ran over and smiled. "Brother-in-law, it's the National Day holiday. Let's go out and play." "How can I have time to play with you? Look at this villa." Jiang Tian patted his little head and laughed involuntarily. "Brother-in-law, you said that before I have a boyfriend, you will accompany me. But now, you only accompany big sister and don't even have me in your heart." The little girl was wearing a light spaghetti strap dress. Her long legs were snowy white, and she was wearing high-heeled sandals. She hugged Jiang Tian's arm passionately and acted like a spoiled child. Jiang Tian's face darkened. This was really a promise that he made was a debt that he owed. "That's right, brother-in-law, we plan to go to the Thousand Island Lake Resort in Leizhou to play. Do you want to come with me?" The little girl hugged Jiang Tian's arm and smiled with anticipation. "I won't go." Jiang Tian shook his head and said, "What's there to play with you guys? There's a generation gap, and there's no common language." "Brother-in-law, how can you go back on your words? Be careful or I'll complain to my sister." The little girl pursed her lips and stamped her feet, feeling inexplicably jealous. Jiang Tian couldn't stand her sharp tongue and raised his hands in surrender. "All right, as long as your sister allows it, I have no problem." Zhao Qianru hurriedly called her sister and told her about the matter. Then, she handed the phone to Jiang Tian and said, "My sister has instructions." "Wifey, what do you say?" Jiang Tian asked with a smile. "Go and accompany Xueqing on her vacation." Zhao Xueqing smiled gently and said, "You've been too busy recently. If you're not studying formations, you're cultivating hard. You even have to think about my physique. It's time to change your brain. Besides, she's young and heartless. If you go with her, I'll be more at ease. Don't worry. With me around, no one will dare to harm a single hair on Qianru's head." Jiang Tian hurriedly promised and said, "Why don't you come with us?" "Forget it. The company has a lot of orders right now. I can't leave it all, so I won't be going." Zhao Xueqing gently shook her head. At this moment, Shen Lu and Zheng Li came over and smiled. "Jiang Tian, where are you going to play?" Not only did they need Shen Mange, Master Qi and the others who knew about formations, they also needed people who were proficient in construction and civil engineering. Especially when the process of setting up the formation destroyed the roadside and landscape of the villa. The repair and restoration after the event was also not a small project. Shen Li's family was originally in the construction business, and he himself had also studied this in university. Now that he had returned to his old profession, Jiang Tian called him and Zheng Li to bring the construction team over to help. However, Jiang Tian discovered that the two of them had been flirting with each other these days, as if they were having an affair. Regarding this, Jiang Tian was also very gratified. It seemed that his return had changed the fate of some people. Zheng Li was much better than his original girlfriend. He hoped that Shen Lu would have a happy marriage. Thousand Island Lake Resort. Jiang Tian said with a smile. "We want to go too. Master Kong, you can't be so stingy. You have to bring us along." Zheng Li and Shen Lu jeered together. In fact, after interacting with Jiang Tian for a long time, they realized that Jiang Tian was actually quite approachable, especially to people of the same age. All right. You guys have worked hard these days. Let's go together tomorrow." Jiang Tian said with a smile. The next day, everyone gathered at the entrance of the Zhao family's lakeside villa early in the morning. On Jiang Tian's side, there were only two friends, Zheng Li and Shen Lu. On Zhao Qianru's side, there were still 5 or 6 university classmates. It could be seen that Chu Yui's university classmates all had good family backgrounds. They all drove private cars and wore luxurious clothes. Jiang Tian was too lazy to drive, so Shen Lu drove a Volkswagen Golf over. There was even an advertisement sticker on it that read, "Earth, Sand, Construction." A university classmate of Zhao Qianru called Lu Wenhong sneered and said disdainfully, "Qianru, your brother-in-law's car is quite unique." Lu Wenhong, show some respect. How could you know my brother-in-law's ability? Zhao Qianru glanced at him. I think your brother-in-law is just an ordinary uncle. I heard that he was kicked out of his family and came in? Lu Wenhong said with a face full of disdain. Lu Wenhong had pursued Zhao Qianru some time ago, but was ruthlessly rejected by Zhao Qianru. The reason was also very strange. You don't look like my brother-in-law. When Lu Wenhong heard this reason, he almost fainted from anger. What does it have to do with your brother-in-law that I'm in a relationship with you? However, he had always been curious about Zhao Qianru, this legendary brother-in-law of his. Today, when he saw Jiang Tian, he immediately became eccentric. Lu Wenhong, why are you so nosy? If you keep talking nonsense, I won't go play. Zhao Qianru glared at him and pulled the door open to get out of the car. All right, Qianru, this trip to the Thousand Island Lake Resort is still Wenhong's treat. Just give him some face. Chu Yue hurriedly advised. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Zhao Qianru opened the door and got out of the car. She got into the Volkswagen Golf that Jiang Tian was driving. Damn, what's so great about a person who does earth and stone business? Seeing this, Lu Wenhong secretly gritted his teeth. When everyone was here, he started the car with a gloomy face and the three cars set off together. The Thousand Island Lake Resort was located in the southernmost part of Lingnan, Leizhou. It was only separated from Hainan by the Qiongzhou Strait. In less than 4 hours, the three cars arrived at the border of Leizhou. When they got off the highway, there were already a few sports cars waiting at the exit. Lamborghini, Maserati, BMW X5. I'm dizzy. All of them are luxury cars. Chu Yue leaned against the window and looked at the row of sports cars. Her eyes were not enough to take in all of them. For a well-off family like her, driving a private car was already amazing. This kind of luxury car was simply unimaginable. Shun Lu, who was in the car behind, was also shocked. It seemed that these were all young masters of Leizhou. Lu Wenhong felt that he had gained face. He got out of the car and shook hands with the leading young man. Brother Fan, you're giving me too much face. Huh, who asked your cousin to be Tang Xiaozi? I will definitely give you face. The young man called Brother Fan laughed and glanced at the car. TSK, there were also a few beauties. I didn't expect Lu Wenhong's eyes to be so good. Thank you, Brother Fan. Lu Wenhong was flattered and had a servile expression. The young man winked and smiled. Which one do you like? You have too many beauties. Lu Wenhong said calmly. In the Volkswagen Golf, the girl wearing suspenders. Don't worry. This time, brother will definitely give you face. If it doesn't work, I'll call my cousin Bai Choufei or your cousin to come over tonight. Your cousin is the awesome one, Yang Cheng's first-class young master Tang Xiaozi. You're looking for me from afar. The young man winked and smiled. My cousin is extremely busy. How could he have the time to care about my trivial matters? Lu Wenhong said with an understanding smile. The conversation between the two was heard by Chu Yue. Her face was filled with horror as she said in a trembling voice, Yang Cheng's #1 young master Bai Choufei? And Tang Xiaozi? Bai Choufei was famous in Yangcheng and Chu Yue had heard of him in Jiangbei. It was said that he controlled the super-large flying cloud society and had a strange hobby. He loved to drink breast milk and would often search for breastfeeding women in Yangcheng. Whoever dared to disobey, he would directly cripple them. The young man's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, Little girl, don't talk nonsense. If these words reach young Master Bai's ears, your entire family will die. I didn't expect you to be Tang Xiaozi's cousin. You're so low-key in school, I've never heard you mention it. Chu Yue stuck out her tongue in fright. She looked at Lu Wenhong with a whole new level of respect and said apologetically, I'm sorry for just now, I didn't mean it. Don't take it to heart. My cousin isn't here. Lu Wenhong said politely, but the pride and arrogance in his eyes could not be concealed. A student looked at Chu Yue in astonishment and said, Isn't your father the deputy director of the Commerce Bureau in Linzhou? Why would he be afraid of this kind of person? That's still not good. Chu Yue said with a bitter smile, This kind of powerful person can talk to the mayor and the secretary of the municipal committee. Moreover, this is Leizhou. That is the territory of Tang Xiaozi and Bai Qiufei. She gave those ignorant students a look of disdain, saying softly, "Moreover, Tang Xiaozi and Bai Qiufei are both especially powerful figures. Just Tang Xiaozi alone is someone not even Eastern Sea's Yi Gufeng could defeat. As for Lin Province's Tang family and Zheng family, they are even more inferior." At this moment, Lu Wenhong glanced at the Volkswagen Golf that Jiang Tian was in and said indifferently, "That brat is Zhao Qianru's brother-in-law. Zhao Qianru praises him as if he is the sky. Today, help me humiliate him. Let him understand who is the real strong. He, with his loser appearance, is he in the business of stone?" That young man disdainfully patted his chest and said with a sinister smile, "Lei Zhou is my territory. I can knead him however I want." Chapter 141. The car didn't drive into the city. After getting off the highway, they directly took the ring road and arrived at the Thousand Island Lake scenic spot in the suburbs. The Thousand Island Lake was originally a scenic spot. Now, it was contracted by a tourism investment company and developed into a large-scale project that integrated real estate, tourism, vacation, and entertainment. Just as they left the parking lot, they saw a tall and handsome young man leading the manager and others to greet them at the entrance of the resort. "Brother Nan, why did you come out personally?" Seeing the young man appear, even Lu Wenhong was slightly moved. He quickly walked over and shook hands with him while enthusiastically introducing, "This is the general manager of the Thousand Island Lake Resort, Bai Tianen. You must have heard of his cousin, Bai Qiufei, young Master Bai." "Bai Qiufei's cousin? Wenhong, you also know such a big shot like Bai Qiufei?" "Young Master Bai seems to have a scandal with the big star Guoji Chang some time ago. Is it true?" Zhao Qianru's classmates were stunned and excitedly discussed. For example, Guoji Niao and Bai Qiufei were people who often appeared in the gossip news. Stars, young masters, wealthy families, domineering. These words were originally unattainable existences, but now, they actually appeared right in front of their eyes. "Wenhong, I heard about you from your cousin. Today, young Master Bai and young Master Tang came together to discuss business." Bai Tianen lightly shook hands with Lu Wenhong and smiled reservedly. "Is that so?" Lu Wenhong shook Bai Tianan's hand excitedly. His face was ecstatic. "Cousin will also appear? That's great. I can let these classmates see my amazing strength. That's the #1 young master in Yangcheng. These are my classmates." He also wanted to introduce his classmates to Bai Tianen. However, although Bai Tianen was only 25 or 26 years old, his aura was huge and he was quite arrogant. He was too lazy to pay attention to him and directly interrupted, "Okay, you can slowly get to know each other later. Let's go in first." Everyone felt this kind of contempt, but no one would say anything. Bai Tiannan's status was so high and his financial resources were not something they could compare to. Walking into the resort, everyone was shocked. On the vast Thousand Island Lake, there were more than a dozen small islands with luxuriant vegetation and pleasant environments. They were connected by glass planks. On each small island, there were tall villa-style hotels and various entertainment facilities. The clear lake was a vast expanse of green. A white yacht sailed across the white waves, leaving behind sounds of joy and laughter. "What's that? Umbrellas? I played it when I was traveling in Penang." As Chu Yue walked along the cobblestone path, she looked at the lake and exclaimed in surprise. A speedboat set off 2 white waves as it sailed quickly. The speedboat was pulling an umbrella, and under the umbrella sat 2 tourists. Cheerful screams could be heard continuously. As Bai Tianen walked in front, he proudly introduced, "My family's resort occupies 13 small islands, and there's also a part of the shore." There was a luxurious lakeside hotel with more than 200 rooms and 5 villa-style hotels. Dozens of villa experience rooms. In addition, each island has a different type of entertainment. On the first island, extreme sports such as real-life CS, rock climbing, etc. On the second island, there's a racing track that completely simulates the F1 track. On the third island, there's the only yacht club in Lingnan. It has even appeared at the Banquet of Bliss. We also have 3 high-end restaurants here. Australian lobsters, 2-headed abalone, and Japanese caviar. They're all flown in and we have everything you need. That's awesome. Listening to Bai Tiannan's introduction, the girls were already grinning from ear to ear. Even the boys were tempted. Chu Yue secretly pulled down her collar, revealing her fair skin. She leaned over and said with a fawning face, "Brother Tianan, the investment for this resort is not small, right? The initial investment is 500 million. The next step will be an additional 1 billion to build villas with a lake view." Bai Tianan said calmly. "Your family is really powerful. This investment could be considered a huge sum. It's more powerful than many of the tycoons in Jiangbei." Lu Wenhong exclaimed. "You're wrong again." Bai Tianan said solemnly, "The first 500 million is indeed our Bai family's investment, but the subsequent investment is from the Lingnan Chamber of Commerce led by Master Kong." "Who's Master Kong? What's the Lingnan Chamber of Commerce?" Many people present were puzzled. Even Lu Wenhong, who was well informed, shook his head lightly. "You're all from Linzhou City, but you've never heard of Master Kong and the Jiangbei Chamber of Commerce?" Bai Tianan looked at them in surprise. It seemed that Lu Wenhong's family background and status were not too high. They didn't even know of the great Master Kong. Everyone was puzzled. "Master Kong is from Linzhou City." Bai Tianan sighed with reverence. On the Blue Whale Princess, he defeated the Great Circle's expert Xing Shanhu with one punch and suppressed the entire Jiangbei. Even Peak Master Yi Gufeng bowed his head to him. He's known as the Jiangbei Godfather. Later on, he fought his way to Lingnan. Now, many tycoons in Yangqing worship him. What kind of heaven-defying strength is this? As he spoke, he felt that he had said too much. Bai Qiufei had warned him not to spread news about Master Kong. He hurriedly stopped and changed the topic. "Wenhong, come with me to get the room card. Take a rest and have some fun. I'll come back tonight to accompany you." After Lu Wenhong and Bai Tianan left, everyone sighed. What? Even Jing Guangxia bowed his head to him. "He's so powerful. This Master Kong should be an old grandpa." Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Chu Yue glanced at Jiang Tian and thought, "That Master Kong can't be Jiang Tian, right?" The next moment, she shook her head. Impossible. This guy was originally a lunatic, and now he had become a swindler. It was fine if he swindled people in a small place like Jiangbei, but how could he swindle people in Jiangnan? At that time, she had also witnessed the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony, but the more she thought about it, the more she felt that it was impossible. Jiang Tian was crazy back then. He smashed and burned at home, and Chu Yue and Zhao Xueqing couldn't clean up the mess. She had seen it with her own eyes. The contrast was so huge. How could she easily accept the fact that Jiang Tian had ascended to the heavens? She believed that Jiang Tian had used some method to deceive the Tang family and those people in Jiangbei. He was just fishing for fame. "Let's put down our luggage first and play together after lunch." At this time, Lu Wenhong had already gotten the room cards from the manager and started to distribute them to everyone. This National Day trip was completely arranged by Lu Wenhong. The expenses of coming out to play were also covered by him. As for how to stay, it was naturally arranged by him. Zhao Qianru, Chu Yue, and the others were assigned to a villa area. There was plenty of sunlight there, and the view was broad. Moreover, more than a dozen people stayed in a villa. After playing, they could even play cards and chat together. Jiang Tian, Shenlu, and Zheng Li stayed in an ordinary hotel. The 2 rooms were on the first floor. The ground was very damp and was blocked by tall trees. Usually, this was for the hotel attendants on the night shift. It was obvious that they had been marginalized. Everyone put down their luggage and gathered in the lobby again. Lu Wenhong had already arrived. Seeing Jiang Tian coming over, he laughed sinisterly. "Uncle Jiang, the environment of the room is not bad, right?" Jiang Tian obviously sensed Lu Wenhong's exclusion of him, but he didn't take it to heart. He wasn't very particular about food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, so he smiled gently and said, "The environment is pretty good, thank you for your arrangements." Did this kid not have any awareness of being excluded? Lu Wenhong gritted his teeth in anger and frowned. All right, as long as you're happy. But why isn't my brother-in-law staying with us? Zhao Qianru put down her luggage and walked over, asking in confusion. Our villa hotel is already full. So, I arranged an ordinary room for Uncle Jiang. Lu Wenhong said with a fake smile. So it's like this? Zhao Qianru nodded her head in realization and suddenly said something shocking. Then brother-in-law, you and I will stay in the same room tonight. You two are staying together. Lu Wenhong was suddenly in a difficult position and suffered a blow. Could it be that he wasn't your brother-in-law, but your boyfriend? Could it be that you two have already slept together? Yeah, my sister and I share a husband and sleep together. What's wrong with staying together? Zhao Qianru's face was matter-of-fact as she hugged Jiang Tian's arm and said softly, Do I still have to report to you? You're really controlling everything. Jiang Tian was speechless. This time, he was actually used as a shield by his sister-in-law. Who could he reason with? Damn, this is too shocking. Two sisters marrying a husband? What a monster, what a zombie. Wenhong is so sad he's making a wedding dress for someone else. Wenhong organized this National Day trip to confess to Zhao Qianru. Now it's all for nothing. Damn, the restaurant even prepared roses. In this situation, do you want to remove it? All the students looked at Lu Wenhong sympathetically, as if his forehead had already turned green. Facing Zhao Qianru's questioning, Lu Wenhong's face turned green and white. After a long time, he said bitterly, Of course there's no problem. Let's go eat. On the way to the restaurant, a few students gathered around Lu Wenhong who was walking at the back and expressed their righteous indignation as they suggested, Lu Wenhong, what should we do? Should we beat him up? Yeah, what's the point of being polite at this point? Beat him up until he doesn't dare to get close to Zhao Qianru. This grandson is too infuriating. He even dares to touch Wenhong's woman. I really can't stand it. I must beat him to death. You guys just act according to my signal. Looking at Jiang Tian who was holding Zhao Qianru's hand, Lu Wenhong's anger soared to the sky as he gritted his teeth. If looks could kill, Jiang Tian would have died 100 times over. The restaurant was more Western, in the form of a buffet. In order to confess to Zhao Qianru, Lu Wenhong even spent a lot of money and booked the entire restaurant. Therefore, there were no other guests. At this time, Zhao Qianru took the food and sat beside Jiang Tian. She said apologetically, Brother-in-law, I'm sorry. He always harassed me, so I had to use you as a shield to make him give up. You won't be angry, right? You should have told me in advance so that I could dress up more handsome. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. Brother-in-law is the most handsome. There's no need to dress up. Zhao Qianru giggled. Lu Wenhong also came over and sat down. He was burning with jealousy and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. He sneered with a gloomy face. Uncle Jiang, is that kid Shenlu your friend? My classmate, our relationship is not bad. You know him? Jiang Tian looked at him in surprise. Chapter 142. That brat wanted to take on a project in Yangqing City, so he came to visit my dad with gifts. Lu Wenhong shook his head with an arrogant expression and disdainfully said, He's too whimsical. He only brought a few bottles of Maodai and wanted to curry favor with my dad. What a joke. Lu Wenhong ridiculed. I threw him out like a wild dog and threw the Maui into the trash can. That brat was so scared that he nearly knelt down. Shen Li's face was ashen with humiliation and resentment in his eyes. It seems that what Lu Wenhong said was true. Is that so? Jiang Tian frowned as anger gathered in his chest for the first time. Lu Wenhong added fuel to the fire and proudly said, But now that I know about your relationship with him, I feel that I was a little rude. If he wants to take on a project, you guys can go and beg my dad together. There's no need to bring gifts, I will ask my dad to give him a way out. Jiang Tian calmly said, Go back and tell your dad that the projects that your dad invests in will all belong to Shen Lu. Lu Wenhong was stunned for a moment before he said with disdain, Jiangdan, who do you think you are? Are you crazy? Can you make the decision? Jiang Tian faintly smiled. Whether I can make the decision or not, you can ask Tang Xiaoze or your dad. Also, don't harass Jianru anymore. She doesn't have a good impression of you. Bullshit. Lu Wenhong slammed the table and pointed at Jiang Tian. I don't care what relationship you have with Zhao Qianru. In short, you little loser, stay away from her. Otherwise, I will kill you. Lu Wenhong, show some respect. In Linzhou City, Jiang Tian and Zhou Zhenghao have a say. Shen Lu angrily slammed the table. It was fine for others to insult him, but he couldn't bear to see others insult his good brother, Jiang Tian. Ha, Zhou Zhenghao? Long Gatian? Bird feathers. Lu Wenhong's face was filled with arrogance as he mocked. Compared to my uncle, Tang Jinye, and my cousin, Tang Xiaoze, he's nothing. Chu Yui's face was full of disdain as she said with a cold smile, Jiang Tian, how can you forcefully resist Lu Wenhong? He may be young, but he is Tang Jinye's nephew. You may be popular in Linzhou, but this is Leizhou. The fall of the Lingnan clan's Wei clan had a huge impact, but in the end, it was still too far away from a child from a well-off family like Chu Yue. When they saw the news on the news, they only muttered to themselves, oh, the Wei clan has fallen. How could they possibly look into the truth behind this? How could they possibly know the relationship between this great change and Jiang Tian? In Chu Yue's eyes, Jiang Tian was only a scammer in the Jiangbei region. However, if he were to run into the big shots of Jiangnan province, he would have to kneel down and submit to them. After all, the Tang family of Yangqing City was a power that even the Tang family of Linzhou City couldn't afford to offend. Young Lord Lu only invited Zhao Qianru, not you. Get out of here. Yeah. You and Qin Fan are just losers. You are a disgrace to us. These students all stood on Lu Wenhong's side, fighting to criticize Jiang Tian. They were arrogant and despotic to the extreme. If you don't get out of here, I will ask my cousin to break your legs. Lu Wenhong thought that he had gained the upper hand, so he pointed at Jiang Tian's nose and threatened him. Wenhong, you are here? At this moment, a deep baritone voice sounded. At the entrance of the hall, a few young men with extraordinary bearings walked in. Cousin, I brought a few of my classmates here to have fun. Lu Wenhong saw the newcomers and felt that he had found a backer. He ran over and said with a smile, is this young Lord Tang Xiaoze? Everyone looked at Tang Xiaoze one after another, their eyes filled with admiration. He is so handsome and imposing. This is the real top young lord. Chu Yui's eyes flickered as she murmured with admiration. Lu Wenhong suddenly looked at Jiang Tian coldly and pointed at him. This Jiang guy is the brother-in-law of the girl I like, but he still wants to hit on her. Help me take care of him and break his legs. Tang Xiaoze only saw Jiang Tian after he pointed at him. His smile froze on his face and he could no longer smile. In the next moment, his knees went soft and he knelt on the ground. He said with a trembling voice, I didn't know that Master Kong would be here. Please forgive me for being late to welcome you. After more than a month of careful nursing, Tang Xiaoze could finally get up and walk. He also started to work normally. But when he thought of Jiang Tian's appearance, he felt a chill in his heart. He was afraid that he would be unlucky again, so he shifted his business to Lingnan's southernmost Leizhou. It seemed to be safer to stay away from Jiang Tian. Having his legs broken while he was still alive was indeed too painful. This afternoon, he and a few business partners were discussing a real estate project in the resort. When he heard that his cousin was coming, he came to take a look. But he didn't think that things would be so coincidental that he would meet Jiang Tian in Leizhou. What? Young Lord Tang actually knelt in front of Jiang Tian. Everyone was completely dumbfounded and petrified. Wasn't this guy a loser? Why did Tang Xiaoze kneel in front of him? It was too inconceivable. Jiang Tian didn't even look at him as he leisurely ate the grilled oyster. He nodded and said, Oh, your Tang family is quite good at picking up girls. Brother, what are you doing? This guy is the Zhao family's son-in-law, a trash existence. He's in the stone business with Shen Lu. Lu Wenhong asked in confusion. Tang Xiaoze wanted to cry but had no tears. He was scared of Jiang Tian to death. During the banquet of bliss, Jiang Tian ordered his legs to be broken. At that time, his dad said that Master Kong was merciful. Otherwise, he would have killed him and no one would be able to do anything. That's right, Jiang Tian couldn't even be killed by bullets. He burned Mo Haoxiong to ashes with a long flame. He killed the little Taoist Master Wei Peng with a single glance. He even withstood 10 li of earth qi and killed the spell master Wei Shuofeng. This kind of power, this kind of ability, this kind of ruthlessness, had long been deeply imprinted in Tang Xiao's mind. He would never be able to forget it for the rest of his life. When he thought about it, his whole body trembled. When he thought about it, he couldn't eat or sleep well. When he thought about how his legs were broken by the ghost kick, his bones still felt waves of pain. But now, this blind cousin of his actually had ideas about Jiang Tian's sister-in-law and even spoke such arrogant words. Wasn't this trying to kill him? You shut up. He was shocked and angry at the same time. He jumped up and slapped Lu Wenhong's face, causing his nose to bleed violently. Cousin, why did you hit me? Lu Wenhong was dizzy and disoriented. He covered his face in confusion and astonishment. Tang Xiaoza gritted his teeth and his eyes spat fire. You dog, you're crazy. How dare you talk to Master Kong like that? As he spoke, Tang Xiaoza quickly walked up to Jiang Tian, bowed respectfully, cupped his fists, and smiled apologetically. Grandmaster Jiang, this little brother of mine has a foul mouth and offended you. Don't worry, I'll surely take care of him. Everyone was confused. Tang Xiaoza was just a son-in-law of the Zhao family who was in the stone business. Did he have to give him face? Only Chu Yue's beautiful eyes were wide open. She was shocked and cold sweat came out. She understood in her heart. So Jiang Tian was the Master Kong they were talking about. So he didn't just earn the Tang family's respect. He had already suppressed the entire Lingnan and made many of the top young masters in Yangqing fear him. Okay, don't make a fuss. Don't let anyone come. I just want to play with my sister-in-law for 2 days. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said lightly, That's good, that's good. I'll take care of everything. Tang Xiaoza kept bowing and slowly backed away. This Lu Wenhong disrespected me again and again. Kill him. Jiang Tian's tone was light. It was as if he was simply crushing an ant. Do it. Tang Xiaoza turned his head abruptly and shouted at the bodyguards who were staring at him with their mouths agape. Damn it, if I don't kill him, I'm afraid I'll be the one dead. What are you waiting for? A few attendants immediately swarmed forward and dragged Lu Wenhong, who was so scared that he was dumbstruck, out of the room like a little chick. Master Kong, I know I was wrong. Spare me this time. Lu Wenhong struggled and begged for mercy. Tears fell like rain, but Jiang Tian just ate silently and didn't even look at him. It hurts. A moment later, 2 blood-curdling screams came from outside the door, and then there was a terrifying silence. Chu Yue was so scared that her whole body trembled. She moved to Jiang Tian with difficulty and said in a trembling voice, Jiang Tian, I'm sorry. Everyone, don't be nervous. Since you're Chanru's classmate, you're my friend. I've always been a very easygoing person. Jiang Tian didn't even look at her. He raised his wine glass at the students who were scared stiff and kept quiet out of fear. He nodded and smiled. Easygoing your sister. Killing people without blinking. Great Demon King. These students trembled and turned their heads away. They didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian, this terrifying guy. After the meal, under everyone's astonished gaze, Jiang Tian and Zhao Chanru moved into Lakeview Villa 1. Even Shenlu and Zheng Li moved into Villa 8. Brother-in-law is too mighty and domineering. From now on, none of these boys will dare to harass me. While swimming in the open-air swimming pool on the roof of the villa, Zhao Chanru's graceful body created splashes of water as she proudly smiled. It's not good for you to be like this. I see that there are 2 young men inside. They're quite handsome. Under the parasol, Jiang Tian was dressed casually. He was lying on a bench and casually flipping through a Chinese medicine book as he spoke indifferently. TSK, how can they compare to brother-in-law? If I don't want to find someone, then I won't. If I want to find someone like brother-in-law, Zhao Qianru said with a firm expression. I'm afraid that's very difficult. This sister-in-law is possessed. Regarding this, Jiang Tian could only shake his head and smile bitterly as he sighed helplessly. For the remaining 2 days, Jiang Tian, Zhao Qianru, Shenlu, Zheng Li and the others had a good time at the Thousand Island Lake Resort. After washing away their fatigue, they drove back. On the way back, Chu Yue and Zhao Qianru's classmates all had heavy hearts. They were silent and avoided Jiang Tian with fear in their eyes. Regarding this, Jiang Tian didn't take it to heart. He thought leisurely, there shouldn't be anything else after this. I should focus on cultivation and cultivate to the 4th level as soon as possible. After breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement, I should also return to Qixia City to take a look. He looked at the scenery outside the car window. A trace of coldness flashed through his eyes as he muttered, those people who bullied my parents and coveted the Jiang family in my previous life, I hope you are prepared to die. Chapter 143. Sigh, why do I always run into Master Kong? I'm so unlucky. Could it be that my life is that bad? After sending Jiang Tian to the highway, Tang Xiaoze wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said with lingering fear, Young Master Tang, maybe it'll be useful if you believe in Buddhism. Bai Tiannan suggested after pondering for a moment. Really? Yes, Buddhism will definitely be useful. As long as you sincerely believe in Buddhism, you won't run into this king of hell again. Bai Tiannan said. What's wrong with believing in Buddhism? As long as I don't run into Kong Teichu, I'm willing to exchange 10 years of my life for it. Tang Xiaoze seemed to see the light of hope. He clasped his hands together and said sincerely, Buddha, from today onwards, I'll abstain from sex, meat, and vegetables. I won't talk nonsense, and I won't drink alcohol. I'll sincerely worship Buddha every day and pray that I won't see Kong Teichu again in this life. Fu Lanjun was very miserable these days. The Tang family broke off the engagement, and the vice president of the socialite clubhouse was removed. Without the help of the Tang family, the sales of her Clivio were declining. She had become the biggest joke in Linzhou. Fu Lanjun seemed to have been drained of her energy and was completely dispirited. She couldn't eat or sleep well, and her insomnia was severe. Her mind was always filled with images of Jiang Tian. When they went on a blind date, he tried to please her and gave her a childish Winnie the Pooh. She smashed the Winnie the Pooh on his face and scolded him for being a toad who wanted to eat swan meat. His face was full of shock and he looked like he had lost his soul. During the apprenticeship ceremony of the Tang family, he accepted the worship of the Tang family. Everyone looked at him with disdain. Many images flashed before her eyes like a lantern. Her eyes were dull and she didn't speak much. Her parents even suspected that she had lost her mind. In a few months, she had lost 5 kilograms and was extremely skinny. That night, Fu Lanjun ate a few mouthfuls of food and lay on the bed. She tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Jiang Tian is a good-for-nothing who is also crazy. How did he become Kong Teichu, Master Kong? The long period of fighting in the business world had cultivated her meticulous and rational way of thinking. The more it was like this, the more she found it hard to believe. In the end, she gritted her teeth, changed into a new set of clothes, and quietly left the house. She walked towards King's No. 1 villa. Her best friend, Lu Biyao, had now become Jiang Tian's fangirl. She would broadcast Jiang Tian's news to her all day long. She knew that Jiang Tian had already moved to King's No. 1 villa. Zhou Xinya, who had gone to Yangqing City to develop, had also met her once and warned her never to provoke Jiang Tian again. When Fu Lanjun asked her why, Zhou Xinya was so scared that she couldn't stop trembling and left without saying a word. At this time, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and the east was gradually turning white. She easily pushed open the door of the villa. Clouds and mist swirled around, vegetation grew luxuriantly, and rockery and strange rocks could be vaguely seen. It was almost like a fairyland. Is there no one living here? Could it be that Lu Biao made a mistake? Fu Lanjun entered as if there was no one around. Seeing that the villa's door was locked, She went up to the rooftop viewing platform. Jiang Tian! She cried out in alarm. She saw Jiang Tian sitting on the rocking chair, leisurely sipping his tea. I knew you were coming. Jiang Tian swallowed a mouthful of tea as the corner of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. Do you think you're an immortal? You know everything. Seeing Jiang Tian's indifferent and calm appearance, Fu Lanjun suddenly became angry. All the scenes of her being humiliated in front of Jiang Tian floated up in her mind. Especially Jiang Tian's eyes, which made her very uncomfortable. It was as if he was watching an ant climb with interest. Or perhaps he was a spectator in the corner of the theater, watching other people's horse performances, but he knew that this was just a show. He was high and mighty as if he was looking at ants. His arrogance was boundless. She was so angry that her body trembled. I don't believe that you are Master Kong. Why not? Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. His interest was piqued. But it's too simple. Because of reason. Fu Lanjun poured out all the grievances she had suffered over the past few months. She clenched her fists and shouted. The Tang family treats you like a VIP and the elites of Jiangbei see you as their leader. But I don't believe it. Because you don't have the qualifications to be a big shot. You seem to be low-key, but in reality, you are arrogant and disregard the rules of society. In terms of family background, the Jiang family is on the decline. The Medicine King group is struggling. You were expelled from your family because you offended a big shot in Yanjin. You can't rely on the Jiang family. In terms of tactics, you are not as good as Lu Tianle or even Long Gadian. In terms of IQ, you are crazy, ignorant, and fearless. You are no different from a lunatic. How can you compare with those business elites? You are ignorant and incompetent. You only studied in a third-rate school. You almost couldn't graduate because of cheating. Your personality is not good. Your family background is not good. Your tactics are not good. Your IQ is not good. How can you be Master Kong? So either you are a liar or they are blind. By the end of her speech, her body was trembling. She clenched her fists as if she was going to shout out all the doubts, grievances, and fears that she had accumulated over the past few days. Fu Lanjun had received an elite education since she was a child. She had studied at the business school of the University of London. She had always thought that she was good at identifying talents. Her relationship with Tang Jianfeng was one of her masterpieces. Tang Jianfeng was said to have been expelled from the Tang family. No one thought highly of him. However, when it came to Jiang Tian, she had been wrong many times. She had even put herself in a difficult position. Oh, that's it? Jiang Tian smiled faintly. You are not stupid. It's just that my abilities are far beyond what ordinary people can imagine. As for you, unfortunately, you are just an ordinary person. Jiang Tian looked down at the city that was gradually waking up under the morning sun. Those trees, those bricks, those crisscrossing city silhouettes, those calm lakes and distant mountains, and the things beyond the lakes and mountains. Everything seemed familiar, but it had a different meaning from his previous life. You will never be able to imagine that there is another real world in this world other than the life on the surface. Moreover, you will never be able to enter this world. Jiang Tian said faintly. Another world? Fu Lanjun was confused. Yes. Jiang Tian stood up lazily and smiled. Fine. You have been thinking about me and even came here today. I will show you another world. After that, Jiang Tian stomped his feet and shouted, Array, rise! Suddenly, between Xiu Lake and Lion Peak, pillars of light shot into the sky. Above the lake and between the mountains, the sea of clouds churned. Spiritual fog surged like a tide and enveloped the villas. Under Fu Lanjuan's horrified gaze, two white chi dragons that were as thick as giant trees let out dragon roars as they shot through the sea of clouds with great might. This is... When she saw the dragon head that was the size of a millstone vividly appear before her eyes, Fu Lanjun couldn't help but stagger back in horror. Woo-woo. The two white chi dragons were like obedient cats, curled up under Jiang Tian's feet. The huge dragon heads kept rubbing against Jiang Tian's shoulders. Now you should know the answer, right? Jiang Tian turned around and looked directly into her panicked eyes as if he was looking at an ant. He said calmly, I suppress Jiangbei and Lingnan. I don't need any knowledge or family background, because I have the power to control the life and death of others. Facing this scene that was like a legend, Fu Longjuan's heart fell to the bottom of the valley as she screamed crazily. With this kind of ability, he is really close to a god. No wonder he became the Master Kong that everyone worships. Following that, regret and frustration that was 10 times stronger than before swallowed her body and mind completely. Her tears fell like rain as she stumbled out of the villa. On the morning of the 28th of November 2007, on Lion Peak, the Qi Dragon Array was completed. On this day, Jiang Tian condensed his essence into 2 Qi cultivation stage and successfully stepped into the mid-stage of Qi cultivation stage. Lin Zhou is finally stable. I can finally go back to my hometown to take a look. Jiang Tian did not care about what Fu Longjuan was thinking. He allowed her to run out in a sorry state. However, his thoughts drifted to Jinling, to Qixia County, the place where he grew up. Walk slowly. Let dad and mom grow old slowly. Thinking about his parents whom he had not seen for 10,000 years, Jiang Tian's eyes were slightly moist but filled with excitement. At this moment, Zhao Xueqing, who had just finished her cultivation, walked up the stage in white silk pajamas. She smiled and said, Dad and Mom really missed you. This time even Dad called. She was beautiful. Coupled with the fact that she had cultivated, her aura was even more ethereal. Her first smile could topple a city, and her second smile could topple a country. Is that so? Jiang Tian was slightly stunned as his eyes turned slightly moist. His father, Jiang Jixing, should have been the deputy head of Qixia County in his previous life. He was someone who worked in the system and was careful with his words and actions. He was introverted towards his own feelings and would not ask about him directly. However, it was often said that a father's love was like a mountain. Jiang Tian still remembered that after he had caused a huge mess by beating up that young master in Beijing, his father had actually disregarded his age and pride to apologize to that young master, begging for mercy and begging for mercy. After Jiang Tian was chased out of the family, his father seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. He would drown his sorrows in alcohol and sigh. Within half a year, his hair had turned completely white. I told Dad that you were researching the prescription. Even though he didn't believe me, his tone was filled with relief. Looking at Jiang Tian's reddened eyes, Zhao Xueqing thought that Jiang Tian had missed his parents after not seeing them for a year. She smiled and consoled him, Don't be sad. The formation is done and you've broken through. Let's hurry back to Qixia County to take a look. Who would have known that Jiang Tian had not seen his parents for 10,000 years? How was that a year or two? It had been 10,000 years since Jiang Tian had committed suicide by jumping off the cliff and being taken away by his master to embark on the path of cultivation. In these 10,000 years, Jiang Tian had won countless battles and suppressed countless old demons and great demons. Many immortal emperors and gods' sons had submitted to him, causing the name of the Tai Chu Celestial Venerable to resound throughout the universe. Jiang Tian could be said to have gathered all the glory on his body. However, in the depths of Jiang Tian's heart, the person he felt the most guilty towards was Xueqing. However, what he missed the most was his parents. After 10,000 years of vicissitudes, 10,000 years of ups and downs, and now Jiang Tian was about to return to the starting point. If Jiang Tian's memory was correct, Qixia County would hold an investment conference soon. It was at this conference that his father was framed for corruption and bribery and was arrested and sent to prison. This framing also became the signal for the 3 big families of Jinling to launch an all-out attack on the Jiang family. 4 years later, the Medicine King Group was maliciously acquired by them and became the last straw that broke the Jiang family's back. Chapter 144. In his previous life, Jiang Tian was not famous and could not do anything. He could only watch as the Jiang family was destroyed. In this life, Jiang Tian returned in a strong and powerful manner. He would not allow such a tragedy to happen again. Those demons and monsters who coveted the Jiang family deserved to be killed. They all deserved to die. Jiang Tingthu, Zhao Xueqing was shocked. She could feel a terrifying murderous aura emanating from Jiang Tian's body. Jiang Tian was usually calm and carefree. Even if he met a strong enemy, he would not bat an eyelid even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. She had only felt Jiang Tian's terrifying murderous aura when Li Pengtao was molesting her. The second time was now. I'm fine. Jiang Tian retracted the murderous aura in the depths of his heart and smiled warmly at Zhao Xueqing. Have you finished packing? There are 8 fortune bracelets for Grandpa and Mom and Dad, pills, tonics. Zhao Xueqing reported with great familiarity. Let's go. Let's go now. Jiang Tian nodded calmly, but he could not wait any longer. In fact, Jiang Tian had wanted to return to Qixia County for a long time. However, Jiangnan was still unsettled and Wei Shuofeng was still concerned about it. He was not at ease. Moreover, he had not broken through to the mid-stage of qi refining, so he had to wait for a few more months. He had not seen them for 10,000 years. When he thought of his parents, Jiang Tian's guilt and longing became even more severe. This had been tormenting him for 10,000 years. At this moment, Jiang Tian could not wait to fly to his parents' side. When they set off, Jiang Tian wanted to drive the Rolls-Royce Phantom, but Zhao Xueqing stopped him. Mom has always been worried that we will spend money recklessly. If we drive this over, she will be furious. And what Qinger said makes sense. Then let's drive your Chevrolet. Jiang Tian nodded. Ghost Kick and Shen Mange placed all of Jiang Tian's gifts in the trunk and asked, Master, Mistress, should we follow them? Ghost Kick, you stay at home and take care of the house. Mange, you come with us. Jiang Tian said with a faint smile. The spirit gathering formation contained many natural treasures. If an expert were to discover it, they would definitely covet it. Thus, it was better to leave the ghost leg behind. Afterwards, Shen Mange drove the car while Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing sat in the back, hand in hand. They headed towards Qixia County. Lingnan was located in the southern part of Huaxia, while Jinling was located in the Jiangsu province. It was located in the eastern coastal area of Huaxia, separated by Gan Province and Insignia Province. Along the way, the Chevrolet only arrived at the highway intersection of Qixia County in the evening of the second day. On the way, he received a call from his father's chauffeur, Little Son, saying that he would send a car to pick him up. Jiang Tian politely refused. Brother Son, forget it. I'm driving my own car. Don't worry about it. After exiting the highway intersection, a Porsche Cayenne stopped at the intersection. A tall and sloppy young man wearing a leather jacket stood beside the car. When he saw Jiang Tian's car coming over, he waved his hand vigorously. Shen Mange stopped the car. Just as Jiang Tian got out of the car, the young man had already rushed over. Jiang Tian, you're not loyal. After the young man and Jiang Tian hugged tightly, he punched Jiang Tian's chest. His eyes were red as he glared at Jiang Tian and roared, I'll kill you. It's been 3 years. Where the hell have you been? I've been looking for you for 3 years. Zhao Xueqing and Shen Mange were surprised. They didn't expect that the young man, who had just hugged Jiang Tian so passionately and even shed 2 lines of tears, would hit Jiang Tian in the blink of an eye. Jiang Tian looked at the angry young man and sighed in his heart, Marshal Zhen, when did I go to Linzhou to hang out? I went to the outer space to hang out for 10,000 years. All right, Marshal Zhen, Jiang Tian is different now. It's not convenient for him to come back. In a Volkswagen Golf next to them, a young man wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses came out and advised. What's there to be afraid of? At least in Qixia County, it's our territory. Marshal Zhen said disdainfully. Then he shouted angrily, I heard that kid threatened to take care of you. Back then, I carried a knife and went to the hospital where he was staying. Unfortunately, he ran away. Otherwise, I would have killed him. Do you have to hide from him? Let's not talk about other things. In Qixia County, he dares to provoke you. In his mind, memories came one after another. Marshal Zhen's father was the director of the county's public security bureau. The mature young man was called Tan Guangxiu. His father was also a small cadre in the county. After graduation, he became a civil servant in the county government. He worked under Jiang Tian's father. Before the second year of high school, Marshal Zhen and Tan Guangxiu, who lived together in the county government's courtyard, were Jiang Tian's best friends and playmates. Before the age of 5, they stole sunflowers from the kindergarten together. They spat at passers-by downstairs together for fun. In elementary school, this group of precocious playboys watched embarrassing videos together. They threw bricks into the teacher's private toilet together. They climbed through the window together to peek at the girls' bathhouse together. In junior high school, they skipped class together to play the King of Fighters in the game hall. The teacher called their parents and punished them to stand together. In high school, more than 10 children from the county government's courtyard fought against more than 100 children from the county government's courtyard. They held knives and hacked at each other. In the end, they were outnumbered and chased the other side down the street. Among the few of us, I'm the most useless. Standing with you guys, I feel like I'm useless, Jiang Tian said with a sigh. This was Jiang Tian's true thoughts during that time in his previous life. Although he was a playboy, he was also loyal and didn't want to implicate his brothers. Bullshit. If you say that, it means you don't treat us as brothers. Marshal Zhen's tears flowed like crazy. He pointed at Jiang Tian and roared, "How difficult is it? Can't we handle it together? But you left Xixia without saying a word. You didn't even leave a phone number. Where do you want us to go to find you?" Jiang Tian was silent. However, a warm current welled up in his heart. "Marshal Zhen, don't be angry." Zhao Xueqing walked up and said, "Actually, Jiang Tian hasn't forgotten about you. He often mentions you guys to me. He wants to make some achievements himself before looking for you guys. Is there a need for that?" Marshal Zhen suddenly turned around and angrily glared at Zhao Xueqing. He was so angry that he vented his anger at everyone. "Is there a need for us to prove anything to him? Even if he's a murderer, the three of us will go to jail for him. At worst, we'll go to jail with him. If he's a drug addict, the three of us will let him smoke. He's scum. The three of us will stand beside him. Let's see who the fuck dares to scold him." Zhao Xueqing was slightly stunned. She didn't know how to persuade the angry Marshal Zhen. Marshal Zhen glanced at Jiang Tian. He opened the door of the Porsche Cayenne and sat in. He cast a sidelong glance at Jiang Tian and sneered, "You're so boring." "You're boring?" Jiang Tian retorted. "You're boring." Marshal Zhen's voice rose a few octaves. "You're even more boring." Jiang Tian noticed that the frost on Marshal Zhen's face was melting bit by bit. The corner of his mouth slowly rose into a smile. He laughed and said, "You're smiling, smiling, smiling." "Who's smiling at you?" Marshal Zhen shouted coldly. But in the end his handsome face couldn't hold back anymore. He burst into laughter. "All right, brother, don't be angry." Jiang Tian walked to his side and patted Marshal Zhen's shoulder. The valiant Commander Zhen was now like a young couple who was having an argument. He shrugged his shoulders and pretended to be angry. "Jiang Tian, don't you dare touch me." "All right, let's go eat. I've booked a restaurant to welcome Jiang Tian." Tan Guangxiu looked at the time and smiled. The location of the dinner was the best hotel in Qixia County, Qixia Hotel. But it was only a 4-star hotel. Although the decoration was luxurious, it was filled with the aura of a nouveau riche. Not to mention Yangqing, it couldn't even be compared to Linzhou. Su province's economy had developed well in the 1990s. But now it was far behind Lingnan and Zhonghai. What's more, Qixia County was only a small county. As the host and the guest sat down, Zhen Shuai glanced at Shen Mange. His eyes flickered with a sly light as he clicked his tongue in wonder. He lowered his voice and laughed. "Jiang Tian, it seems that you're developing well in Linzhou. This secretary seat is so smooth. If she were in our Qixia County, she would definitely be the #1 beauty." He squinted his eyes and laughed. "If there's something to do during the day, the secretary will do it at night. Stop fooling around. Your sister-in-law is here." Jiang Tian was embarrassed. He was afraid that this guy would talk about the embarrassing incident of him picking up girls and fishing for rich guys. It would damage the glorious image he had painstakingly created in front of his beloved wife. Shen Mange, who was pouring tea for everyone, chuckled. "Young Master Zhen, you're mistaken. I'm Jiang Tian's maid." Maid? Hearing this, Marshal Zhen couldn't believe it and stood there in a daze. This guy was originally a playboy. He immediately thought of 3 possibilities and laughed. "Oh, the woman who serves you at night? You often do this kind of thing when you're in Jinling." "Okay, stop talking nonsense. Let's eat and drink." Jiang Tian's head was filled with black lines. This guy had touched a sore spot. Seeing that Zhao Xueqing only smiled and wasn't angry, he felt relieved. Tan Guangshu was mature and steady. He and Jiang Tian talked about their parents' recent situation. However, Marshal Zhen was very talkative and talked about everything. "Jiang Tian, I've successfully entered the circle of Jinling's young masters." Marshal Zhen's face was red from drinking. He boasted, "I've drunk with Jinling's young master Sun Hao a few times. His business is very big. Compared to him, my business pales in comparison." Marshal Zhen's personality was lively. He used to work in the armed police. After he retired, he didn't follow his father's arrangement and became a police officer. Instead, he started doing business in Jinling and Qixia County. Earth, stone, sand, metal, pipes, and so on. He made a lot of money. Hearing the 2 words, Sun Hao, Jiang Tian's handsome face was covered in a layer of frost. He clenched his fist, and with a crack, the cup shattered. His eyes were filled with killing intent. In his previous life, it was one of the 3 major families, the Sun family, that forced the Medicine King Group to go bankrupt. Even the car accident on the highway might have been caused by him. This hatred had tormented Jiang Tian for 10,000 years. Whenever he thought about it, his hatred would reach the heavens and the demon in his heart would be deeply planted. "In this life, when I return, I'll make sure you're in a life and death situation and destroy your family." Chapter 145. The young master of Jinling's Sun family? He's in the real estate business, right? Tan Guangshu, who had been quietly eating, suddenly asked. "That's right, it's him." Zhen Shuai smiled. "Those young masters basically drive sports cars like Maserati and Lamborghini. It's embarrassing to put my Porsche Cayenne in front of them." Tan Guangshu's face turned gloomy as he frowned. "Don't you know that he has a real estate project in Qixia County?" Zhen Shuai smiled awkwardly as his eyes turned gloomy. "He has so many projects that I can't even count them all. How would I know?" Seeing this, Jiang Tian silently drank a cup of wine and sighed in his heart. "Looks like Zhen Shuai isn't doing well in Jinling. You've suffered a lot." "Zhen Shuai, you better stay away from Sun Hao. He's not a good person," Tan Guangshu said solemnly as he gently placed the teacup on the table. "What do you mean?" Zhen Shuai was puzzled. Tan Guangshu's face sank as he frowned. "Do you know why Jiang Tian's mother has been so worried recently? It's because of this Sun Hao." "Why is my mother worried?" Jiang Tian asked with a frown. In his previous life, he only went back to clean up the mess after the Jiang family was completely destroyed. As for the details, he wasn't clear about it. "So it's like this." Hearing Tan Guangshu's words, Jiang Tian finally understood. Qixia Pharmaceutical Factory was the place where the Medicine King Corporation was founded. It was also one of the largest research bases. But in this era, TCM was declining and its profits were limited. On the other hand, real estate was developing rapidly. Jinling's Sun family's Dynasty Real Estate Group had long set their eyes on the pharmaceutical factory. Dynasty Real Estate Group controlled the Tiandan Pharmaceutical Company and ordered 100 million worth of goods from Zhang Wanqing with a deadline of 3 months. And if they violated the contract and couldn't guarantee the quality of the goods, they would have to pay a compensation of 1 billion. This year, the Medicine King Corporation's products weren't selling well under the pressure of the Chen family's herbal group. Zhang Wanqing was naturally very happy to receive this order. She used all the funds of the branch company to purchase raw materials and started the production at full capacity. Unexpectedly, when the goods were delivered a month ago, CEO Ma of Tian Duan Pharmaceutical was picky. He took out the test results of the Provincial Food and Drug Administration and said that the product did not meet the standards. He refused to accept it and demanded 1 billion yuan in compensation. He even sued Zhang Wanqing in court. With the support of Sun Hao, who had a powerful background and had bribed everyone, how could Zhang Wanqing not lose the case? He had to pay $1 billion in compensation, and he also had to pay $100 million for the goods. One had to know that it was 2007. But I never expected that in the eyes of those young masters in Jinling, I'm nothing. I'm not even qualified to be their underling. Tan Guangxu gently sighed as he handed over a tissue and said, "Don't cry. You're just like a woman." Zhen Shuai wiped his tears and smiled. "That's right. I was just bragging. Now that I've spoken the truth, I feel much better. If you guys want to laugh at me, then laugh at me." Tan Guangxu pondered for a brief moment before he patted Zhen Shuai's shoulder and said, "If you really can't do it, then don't go to Jinling. Isn't your hometown good enough?" Zhen Shuai shook his head and sighed. "My father is going to retire this year. When the time comes, no one will give face to my father. How am I going to do business?" He gritted his teeth and said, "I must take root in Jinling. One day, I will climb above their heads. I will give that bastard son a slap and give him a good scolding. Sun Hao, right? I'll make him kneel before you and apologize within a week." Jiang Tian's eyes flickered with a cold light as he slowly said, "Holy shit, Jiang Tian, I'm convinced by your domineeringness. You even dare to hit a young master in Yanjing, so what are those bastards in Jinling?" Zhen Shuai was delighted. He raised his glass and clinked it with Jiang Tian's before gulping it down. Naturally, Zhen Shuai only treated it as Jiang Tian's words. Back then, Jiang Tian was expelled from Jinling because he offended a powerful figure. So how could he dare to provoke Sun Hao? Sun Hao was a young master in Jinling with a powerful background. Even the entire Jiang family couldn't afford to offend him. Jiang Tian couldn't fall in the same place twice. Otherwise, he would be a fool. "Jiang Tian, don't be impulsive." Tan Guangxu took it seriously. He frowned and advised, "From what I know, Sun Hao is different from Qin Bo and the others. It's said that this person's background is very complicated. He controls a society and has guns in his hands." Jiang Tian didn't find this strange. In 2007, Hua Xia's business circle was still in the stage of barbaric growth. The rule of law wasn't perfect, and those involved in real estate were often inextricably linked to local societies. Seeing his old friend's anxious face, Jiang Tian nodded and said, "I understand. Don't worry, the atmosphere was a little heavy." Jiang Tian started to talk about some interesting childhood stories with them, and everyone's mood gradually relaxed. In Qixia County, Chen Jinming and Cheng Yi were also very close to Jiang Tian. However, the two of them didn't develop in Qixia County. Chen Jinming was the most promising among their brothers. After high school, his family arranged for him to go to university in America. Now, he had less contact with them and hadn't come back even once in a few years. In fact, in his previous life, after the Jiang family situation, Jiang Tian had contacted Chen Jinming, who worked at Tiger Fund Corporation on Wall Street. And Chen Jinming really did come back with the title of an elite on Wall Street. He pulled in investments from investors all over the world to save the Medicine King Group. But at that time, the fundamentals of the Medicine King Group were already broken. Although Chen Jinming was quite talented in finance and spent a lot of effort, even losing tens of millions of USD, the Medicine King Group was still controlled by the other three big families in Jinling. It was because of his apology and gratitude to Chen Jinming that Jiang Tian, who knew that the financial crisis in America was coming, made an overseas call to Chen Jinming in May of this year, asking him to short American subprime real estate mortgage bonds. With Chen Jinming's shrewdness and good judgment, he should have made a lot of money from this subprime mortgage crisis. And Cheng Yi's background was even more mysterious. When the Jiang family was in danger, he once told Jiang Tian that there might be martial artists behind them. He even suggested using special methods to help Jiang Tian, but at that time, Jiang Tian didn't know about the existence of these things. When he told his family, they politely refused. General Guangxu, I saw General Zhen's lousy Qian coming in from downstairs. You are all here. The three brothers were chatting happily when suddenly, the door was pushed open and a fat man with a big belly walked in with a mocking face. Beside him, there was a tall and beautiful woman who was still wearing a miniskirt in the cold of autumn. The girl's small face was exquisitely made up. She had big watery eyes, bright red lips, big breasts, a thin waist, and a seductive curve from her waist to her crotch. Her legs were also slender and straight, comparable to snow. In this small town, she looked particularly fashionable and youthful, like a crane in a flock of chickens. She was very eye-catching. Seeing them, Jiang Tian's eyes flickered slightly, but he didn't have much reaction. He calmly sipped his tea. This fat man was Zhao Wuji, the son of the county party secretary, Zhao Junlin. When he was young, he was the king of the children in the county party's courtyard, while Jiang Tian and the others were from the county party's courtyard. Since kindergarten, he had been fighting with Jiang Tian and the other children. In high school, this guy was jealous of Jiang Tian and was almost chopped to death by Jiang Tian. Since then, the two groups often had conflicts. According to Jiang Tian's memory, this guy started a construction company in Qixia County. The company wasn't big, but under his father's care, he made a lot of money and had tens of millions of assets. He was really one of the richest tycoons in the area. In his previous life, this guy often bullied Jiang Tian, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was just a harmless joke. There was no deep hatred between them. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years and had seen too many ups and downs. Why would he care about a passerby like him? My car is old, your car is new. What's so great about driving a Mercedes-Benz? Get out of here, you're not welcome here. The mature Tan Guangxu only smiled and didn't say anything. However, Zhen Shuai's face was full of disdain, and his eyes were about to fly out of his eye sockets. Zhen Shuai, I'm here to tell you something. Talk to Jiang Tian's mother and ask her to give up the land. It won't be good if there's a forced demolition. Zhao Wuji was a very boring and thick-skinned person. He wasn't angry. In fact, the angrier you were, the happier he was. At that moment, the young girl behind Zhao Wuji pulled his sleeve and said coquettishly, "Look at who that is. Oh my God. Isn't this the great playboy of Jiang Tian? I heard that you're so awesome that you beat up some young master in Yanjing. Now you're so awesome that you're in outer space? Why you back?" Zhao Wuji suddenly slapped his thigh and said sarcastically. Chapter 146. Zhao Wuji held Jiang Tian's hand passionately and teased, "What's wrong? You can't make it? I think you drove a Chevrolet back home. That car is only 100,000, it's too shabby. It's not worthy of your status. Even my housekeeper is better than your car." He smacked the key to the Benz on the table and pulled a chair to sit down. He smiled and said, "I have an Audi A8 and it's only been driven for 40,000 kilometers. I don't like it, so I don't drive it. Why don't I give it to you?" "Give it to me for free?" "Absolutely." Jiang Tian smiled and did not bicker with him. Zhao Wuji did not expect that Jiang Tian would not listen to him even though he was so ruthless. Instead, he wanted his car. He smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm not giving it to you for free, I'm selling it to you." "Sorry, I don't want second-hand goods." Jiang Tian glanced at the girl behind him calmly. He felt that she looked familiar, but he could not recall who she was. Zhao Wuji's face stiffened when he heard that. The girl was enraged. She pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded, "Jiang Tian, who are you calling second-hand goods? You really don't know what's good for you. Do you think you're still that hedonistic young master? You've been kicked out of your family, and you still have the face to show off in front of me." She said arrogantly, "My dad has been transferred to Jinling City's Commission for Discipline Inspection. One word and your dad will be finished. Now that you've offended me, you still want to live well? You're going to die." After that, she walked away in her high heels. Zhao Wuji followed her out of the door. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Jiang Tian, don't blame me for not warning you. You're in trouble. Is she crazy? Did I do anything to her? Jiang Tian was confused. Jiang Tian, stop joking. Did you forget? Tang Jialin's virginity was taken by you. Zhen Shuai said softly while holding back his laughter. So it's her. When Jiang Tian heard this, he was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. Zhang Wanqing had moved the headquarters of the Medicine King Group to Jinling when she was still in elementary school in Jiangtian. As for Jiang Tian, he stayed with his father in Qixia County. However, his father was also very busy with work, so how could he have the time to take care of him? As a result, Jiang Tian, who had no one to control him, quickly became a devil incarnate. He often skipped classes, got into fights, and started dating when he was in junior high school. The object of this puppy love was Tang Jialin. At that time, the two of them had kissed, and Tang Jialin had thought that she had lost her virginity. She had told a few of her close friends about it, and after a while, the news had spread throughout the circle of the second generation in Qixia County. Come to think of it, the fight between Jiang Tian and Zhao Wuji in high school was also because of Tang Jialin. As a result, even after Jiang Tian had gone to university, many years after the incident, Jiang Tian was still known as the person who had taken Tang Jialin's virginity during class gatherings. When Jiang Tian had said those words in front of Tang Jialin's boyfriend, it was inevitable that she would overthink it and get angry. However, Jiang Tian didn't take this matter to heart and continued to chat with the two brothers. They drank until 11 o'clock at night, when the restaurant was about to close. Only then did the drinking session end. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they drove home. Shen Mange suddenly looked at the rearview mirror and smiled. Interesting, those two cars have been following us. Yes, it's Fatty Zhao and Tang Jialin. They also brought 7 or 8 thugs. Jiang Tian had already sensed it. He smiled faintly and said, "Then drive the car to Mount Wu and play with them." "Master, they're just people from the secular world. It's not good to kill them like this." Shen Mange pondered for a moment and said softly, "Besides, Madam is here watching." "You're wrong. They're not the target. There's another car following us." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and sighed. "There are a few real masters in that car." But Shen Mange finally noticed that there was a commercial car following them from afar. She nodded, adjusted the navigation, and drove towards Mount Wu in the northern suburbs. In the Mercedes-Benz behind them, Tang Jialin's fiery gaze almost shot through the Chevrolet in front of them and burned Jiang Tian alive. She said angrily, "Why don't we just let my dad investigate his dad? Isn't it too easy for him to beat him up?" "Linlin, you can't do that. That's killing him." Zhao Wuji smiled and said, "After all, we're from the same place. How can we be so ruthless? We just need to vent our anger. Then we must break one of his legs. Anyway, he's in the Jiang family now. His uncle doesn't care about him, and his grandma doesn't love him. No one cares." Tang Jialin waved her fists and said angrily, "Don't worry. These brothers of mine are very popular in Xixia. Just wait and see. Jiang Tian will definitely kneel down and apologize to you." Zhao Wuji said with a proud smile as he picked up a soft Chonghua cigarette and started smoking. At the end of the mountain road in Mount Wu, the mountain road ahead was cut off. This place was deserted and was close to the wilderness. Shen Mange stopped the car and Jiang Tian got out. Tang Jialin jumped out of the car. Surrounded by a few strong men, she arrogantly approached Jiang Tian. She pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded, "Jiang, kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Don't be so reckless. There will be masters coming later. Don't scare you when I kill them." Jiang Tian waved his hand and smiled. "What masters are coming? You're going to kill them?" Tang Jialin was slightly taken aback. "Then," she said with disdain, "are you bragging, or have you been scared silly by me?" In his opinion, Jiang Tian was just a good-for-nothing young master who had lost his power. He was just a piece of trash that could be easily manipulated by him. Killing people, was that a joke? That was a prison sentence. Jiang Tian dared to do it? Tang Jialin, who was born in an ordinary cadre family, had a normal way of thinking. She believed that Jiang Tian could fight, But she didn't believe Jiang Tian's words at all. Sister Lin Lin, don't talk nonsense with him. I'm going to cut his hamstring. One of the strong men said fiercely with a sharp knife in his hand. At this moment, Jiang Tian looked at the dense forest on the mountain peak and said coldly, "Aren't you tired after following me all the way? Hurry up and come out. I still have to take care of you and go back to sleep with my wife." "Where is he? Is he crazy?" "He's just bluffing. Hurry up and kill him." Everyone glanced at the dense forest and found nothing unusual. Then, they pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded him. "Master Kong is indeed powerful. The old man is here." Suddenly, a chilling aura came toward them. A few people slowly walked out of the dense forest. The leader of the group was a skinny, dark-skinned man in his 50s. He wore a loose yellow monk's robe and wore hemp shoes on his bony feet. He held an alms bowl in one hand and a pitch-black monk's staff in the other. If Hua Xia's Dharma spell masters were here, they would have screamed in fear. He was the #1 evil monk in Southeast Asia, Baong of Kuantian. His Dharma spell mastery had reached the level of initial ethereal enlightenment. He was an expert in dark arts such as Tame Head. He could kill people from 100 miles away with Tame Head. The other person had a muscular upper body with lumps of meat sticking out. His skin looked like it was carved out of metal, shining with a strange luster. His sturdy arms were wrapped with hemp ropes, and his tiger-like eyes were bursting with light. His eyes were as gloomy as the devil's. He was unusually tall and his aura was domineering like a tiger that had just been released from its cage. It was unforgettable. If there was a martial arts expert here, he would also be terrified. This person was the ancient Muay Thai master Meng Kong. He had once dominated the underground boxing arena in Southeast Asia and had never lost a fight. His strength was comparable to Hua Xia's physique refinement grandmaster. Besides them, there was also a young man who wore casual clothes and carried a treasured sword on his back. He had an otherworldly temperament, and he was the eldest disciple of Star Continent's #1 expert, Wang Chongyan, Fan Tian. Jiang Tian did not know these three people, but he recognized the girl behind them. He immediately put his hands behind his back and sneered. "Guilili, why are you following me? You followed me all the way from Linzhou to Jin City. Don't tell me you like me?" Jiang Tian said disdainfully. "Don't get your hopes up. It's hopeless. You're too ugly and bad-tempered. You can't be compared to my wife." Why would I like a barbarian like you?" Guilili hated Jiang Tian so much that the roots of her teeth itched when she saw him. Now that she saw him teasing her, she was so angry that her whole body trembled. Her pretty face immediately turned cold. She ground her fine silver teeth and sneered, "I told you long ago that I'm not someone you can afford to offend. But in White Ape Valley, you disrespected me time and time again and even dared to hit me. Today, your death date has arrived." She raised her chin proudly and said, "Brat, hurry up and hand over those life crystals. Otherwise, I'll kill you." "You want to rob me? You can try. I'll slap you to death." Jiang Tian spat on his hands and laughed evilly. Baong of Kuantian said calmly, "Benefactor Jiang, the heavens are virtuous. Why are you so unreasonable? The head of the Gua family is seriously ill. Only life crystals can save him. If you give one to Miss Gua, we'll definitely reward you handsomely. Otherwise what?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "You've seen it for yourself. Our Xingzhou police's top 3 experts are here. Killing you will be like killing a dog." Baong of Kuantian said with a sinister smile. "Hua Xia is a lawful society. There are police officers here. Murder and arson? Where do you think this is? His father is the local deputy mayor. Mine is the deputy director of Jin City's disciplinary committee. We just need to make a phone call and the police will come to arrest you." When Tang Jialin saw that a group of people had suddenly rushed over and hindered her from taking care of Jiang Tian, especially Guilili, who was more fashionable and beautiful than herself, she immediately became angry. "Where did you come from, wild girl? You're behaving atrociously in our Qixia County. Hurry up and get lost." "Ha, so funny." Guilili almost burst out laughing when she heard that. She said disdainfully, A little deputy county head and a deputy department head are nothing. Do you know that even the mayor of Jinling City has to bow his head when he sees the Gua family? Tang Jialin was used to flaunting her power in Jin City and Qixia County. How could she endure Gua Lily's anger? She waved her hand impatiently and said, "Wu Lin beat her." Wu Lin was the guy with the sharp knife. He was Zhao Wuji's #1 hired thug. Normally, his combat strength was quite strong. Now that he heard his mistress's order, he immediately pointed the knife at Gua Lily and approached her. He scolded, "Little bitch, are you going to get out or not? Don't get in the way of me beating people. If you dawdle here, we'll take turns and ruin your face." Noisy. Meng Kong's eyes flickered with an ominous glint. He leaped forward and slapped Wu Lin's head. Bang! At this moment, balls of blood filled the air and filled everyone's mouths and noses. Everyone only saw Wu Lin's head explode like a rotten watermelon. Chapter 147. My God! Wu Lin's companions were terrified to the point they cried out involuntarily, their souls leaving their bodies as they trembled. Clang, clang. With a few clangs, weapons such as daggers and knives all fell to the ground from fright. Normally, they only abused their power in this small county. Fighting in groups and bullying the common people was still possible, but killing and plundering was something they didn't even dare think about. The scene before their eyes had completely exceeded their expectations. Smashing a person's head into pieces with a raise of his hand, this was simply extremely vicious. Could it be that he didn't have the slightest concept of the law? Quickly run! Tang Jialin was terrified to the point her beautiful face went ghastly pale. Then she got into the Mercedes-Benz in a sorry state and urged anxiously, "Zhao Yuanji, quickly start the car." Zhao Yuanji, who was originally hiding in the car with the intention of watching a good show, had long since been scared out of his wits, and he immediately started the car in a flurry when he saw this. The Mercedes-Benz was like an agile cheetah as it emitted a wave of low and powerful roars as it madly dashed out. Meng Kong, stop them, don't let them call the police. Ba Song of Heaven shouted in a low voice. Although they were strong, they were foreigners after all. If they were to start a massacre in Huaxia, they would surely encounter the military and police's siege, and it would be rather troublesome and troublesome. Yes, Meng Kong replied. Then his long legs moved and he'd already shot out explosively like an arrow, catching up to the Mercedes-Benz like a galloping horse. He stood before the car with steady footsteps, seeming to be extremely relaxed as he raised his hand and shouted, "Stop! I'll kill you!" At this moment, how could Zhao Yuanji care about anything else? He steeled his heart, clenched his teeth, and stepped on the accelerator to the max, causing the car to suddenly accelerate. Rumble! An enormous sound echoed out as the Mercedes-Benz collided with Meng Kong's legs. However, he only took a step back, and his feet firmly plunged into the asphalt road, forcefully causing the Mercedes-Benz to turn off and stop. The Mercedes-Benz seemed as if it collided with a large mountain as its four wheels flew into the air, then heavily fell down. The bumper and hood were severely deformed and damaged, and the front of the car emitted billowing black smoke. Oh my God! Is he still human? Zhao Yuanji was scared to the point that his face went pale. The fat on his entire body ceaselessly trembled as he tightly hugged Tang Jialin, who was scared to the point tears streamed down her face. Whoever dares to run will die. Kneel. Meng Kong laughed savagely as he swept his gaze around the surroundings. Everyone was so frightened that they stopped in their tracks and knelt down on the ground one after another. All of them trembled and didn't even dare to move. Master Kun Tian, Senior Meng Kong, please capture this brat and force him to hand over the life crystals. Seeing this, Gua Lily's face was filled with pride as she shouted, "Miss Gua, don't be in such a hurry. I want to rape you first." Meng Kong looked at Tang Jialin, whose appearance was so beautiful that it could be said that she was a peerless stunner, and laughed nastily. He smashed the glass window with one fist, and like an eagle catching a little chick, he carried her out of the car. "Then hurry up." Gua Lily saw this and did not stop him. Instead, she urged him, She knew that not only was Meng Kong bloodthirsty, he was also lustful, and it was very difficult to stop him. Moreover, this damned girl had been disrespectful to her time and time again, causing her to burn with anger. At this moment, she was actually happy to see this happen. Help! Help! Her clothes were torn apart by Meng Kong in a few moves, and Tang Jialin was frightened to the point her beautiful face turned pale as she trembled and screamed shrilly. Suddenly, she saw Jiang Tian standing there leisurely, and she hurriedly shouted, "Jiang Tian, save me! Didn't you say that you could kill them? If you save me, I'll accompany you to sleep. I'm still a virgin." Actually, she also didn't believe that Jiang Tian could deal with these terrifying experts. But now, the hired thugs were frightened to the point they knelt on the ground, and Zhao Yuanji was frightened to the point he wet his pants. Only Jiang Tian was standing there and was especially conspicuous. Even if there was only a trace of hope, she still had to grab onto it like a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw. Seeing this, Jiang Tian lightly sighed. "Meng Kong, is it? What ability does bullying a weak girl count as? If you still don't stop, I'll kill you." "Stinking brat, you're too presumptuous." When Meng Kong heard these words, he instantly flew into a rage. He pulled up his pants and cast a sidelong glance at Jiang Tian. "Do you know that my ancient Muay Thai has already reached perfection and is comparable to your grandmaster's? Killing you is like killing a chicken. Crocodile tail whip." He shouted out explosively, then stomped down towards Jiang Tian and rushed over explosively. A high whip kick swept towards Jiang Tian's neck. Ancient Muay Thai was known for its ferocious and violent attack power. Moreover, as an ancient inheritance, the condensed inner strength was abnormally strong. Subsequently, his leg violently swept out, and a crocodile formed from inner strength condensed behind him. This crocodile belonged to a primordial variant called the spiked crocodile. Its pupils were like needles, icy cold to the point it didn't contain the slightest trace of warmth. Saliva flowed from the corners of its mouth, and its sharp teeth were dense. Its entire body was black and shiny like armor, and on its back was a row of green spikes that were as thick as an infant's arm. Its long tail was like a steel whip as it swept towards Jiang Tian. "What the hell is this thing? Heavens, why did a crocodile appear?" Zhao Yuanji and the group of companions were all dumbstruck from shock. Their eyes dazzled and their minds shook as they utterly didn't dare believe their eyes. "Jiang Tian, be careful." Tang Jialin cried out involuntarily and instinctively closed her eyes, not daring to look at the scene of Jiang Tian being kicked to death. She wasn't some great evil person, she only liked to throw her young mistemper and flaunt her strength. She wasn't willing to see Jiang Tian die an unnatural death. As far as she was concerned, Jiang Tian was only a profligate young master that didn't have the strength to truss up a chicken. No matter what, he wasn't a match for Meng Kong, who was strong like a rhinoceros or an elephant. Although Meng Kong's ancient Muay Thai is condensed with inner strength, it's comparable to the true chi of a grandmaster in the martial Tao of Hua Xia. When he saw this, Baong of Heaven of Earth put his palms together with an expression of admiration. As far as he was concerned, Meng Kong couldn't kill Jiang Tian on the spot, but he would absolutely be able to injure Jiang Tian. "Jiang Tian, now you know the ability of my Gua clan, right?" Gua Lily was immensely complacent as she gritted her teeth and shouted coldly, seeming as if Jiang Tian would be deader than dead in the next moment. "Is that so? Is your fleshly body very strong? Let me see exactly how strong it is. I want to use this pair of hands to smash your head into pieces." Jiang Tian smiled indifferently, then rolled up his sleeves to reveal a hand that was even more delicate than a girl's, and was crystalline and translucent to the point it seemed as if it was carved from jade. Subsequently, Jiang Tian greeted it with an extremely simple punch. Boom! Fist and leg collided together. Meng Kong's right leg that seemed as if it was cast from iron was like paper that shattered with a bang. Fresh blood gushed out like a tide, and minced flesh and broken bones scattered out in all directions like a celestial maiden scattering flowers. Under the bombardment of Jiang Tian's boundless strength, Meng Kong's thick body that was tall like a mountain flew up weightlessly like a rag doll. Meng Kong was still screaming miserably in midair when Jiang Tian had already followed up with a step, Then his left palm slapped down and directly slapped Meng Kong's head into his abdomen. Along with Jiang Tian's palm slapping down, Meng Kong's body split apart and fell in all directions. Whereas Jiang Tian's white clothes weren't stained with blood, as if all of this had never happened. In the blink of an eye, the #1 ancient Muay Thai expert, Meng Kong, died. The entire scene was deathly silent, and everyone was dumbstruck. Oh my God! Is this still human? Why is this fellow so formidable now? Zhao Wuji and the others were shocked to the point they were dumbstruck. They didn't dare believe it, and they were terrified to the point their souls almost left their bodies. Although they were only ordinary people, they were still able to discern how formidable Meng Kong was, as he was a terrifying existence that even a Mercedes-Benz couldn't kill. But he was actually slapped to death by Jiang Tian's palm. If Jiang Tian's palm slapped onto their bodies earlier, they would probably have instantly become a pile of minced meat. How is this possible? Bassoon of Kun Tian turned pale with fright as well. It was impossible for the ancient Muay Thai that Meng Kong cultivated to produce true qi, but it was able to develop inner strength that was comparable to a physique refinement grandmaster. Even if Jiang Tian was a physique refinement grandmaster, it was still impossible for him to kill Meng Kong so easily. Oh my God, this kid's strength is so strong. Gua Lily's heart skipped a beat as she hid behind Bassoon of Kun Tian. However, Bassoon of Kun Tian was Southeast Asia's #1 evil monk after all, and he was used to big battles. After a moment of shock, he quickly calmed down and said in a deep voice, "Jiang Tian, you're indeed strong enough. No wonder you can dominate Jiangbei at such a young age, and Master Kang's name is known all over the world. But you only have some achievements in martial arts, and you're definitely not a match for this poor monk's heavenly spells." He sneered proudly and said, "I'm proficient in Kumin Thong, Ghost Arts, Tame Head, and the other top 10 evil arts in Nanyang. Within 10 steps, I can kill you as easily as killing a chicken. Hee, demons and monsters, you're just a clown. You have the nerve to call yourself a master." Jiang Tian's face was calm, and he didn't take it to heart at all. "Jiang, you're so arrogant." Bassoon of Kun Tian's face darkened as he shouted coldly, "I respect you, that's why I call you Master Kong. If I don't respect you, who do you think you are? You're just a tyrant of Jiangbei. Do you know how many martial artists like you I've killed? You talk too much. If you want to fight, then hurry up. I still have to go home and drink soup." Jiang Tian sneered and said, "Look at you, you look like a monkey. You came out to scare people in the middle of the night. All right, as you wish." Bassoon of Kun Tian almost vomited blood because of Jiang Tian's poisonous tongue. The staff in his hand shook, and a few thumb-sized dolls fell from the golden ring. The dolls grew bigger with the wind, and immediately became a few pink, chubby, and cute little girls. However, they changed shape as soon as they rolled on the ground. They had green faces and fangs, and red light shot out from their deep-set eye sockets. Their bodies and arms were disproportionate, and their arms were so long that they reached below their knees and touched the instep. They looked like monkeys. Kumin Thong's entire body was made of white bones, and its skin and flesh were dry. Black and yellow corpse oil kept dripping down, and it stank. However, one could not tell that the skeleton was fragile. It seemed very powerful. Especially on those dense white bones, there were countless faintly floating and circulating incantations. Traces of terrifying and strange aura were emitted from the flowing incantations. Anyone who saw it would know that this terrifying demonic creature was not to be trifled with. "What is this?" Tang Jialin was so scared that her face turned pale. She covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Is this an evil spirit? It's too scary. Master, please spare our lives. We're just bystanders. Please let us go." Zhao Yuanji and his companions were also trembling in fear. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed. If there was a spell master here, he would definitely be scared out of his wits. This Kumin Thong was extremely fast. It appeared and disappeared, and when it launched a fatal attack, no martial artist or spell master could lock onto it. It was really impossible to guard against. Master Bassoon, is this Kumin Thong? It's really powerful. Guo Lily was very afraid of Jiang Tian just now, but when Bassoon of Kun Tian used the Kumin Thong's secret technique, she immediately became 100 times more confident. That's right. Bassoon of Kun Tian stood proudly with a Zen staff in his hand. He sneered and said, "I killed 9 babies, then wrapped them in a cloth with scriptures written on it. I wrote spells on the babies' bodies and placed them on the sacred fire for 49 days to become a Kumin Thong doll. These Kumin Thongs have powerful Dharma powers and are invulnerable. They don't feel any pain and can eat souls. Even a master of the transcendent state would not be able to resist them." Everyone was shocked when they heard that. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.